That go? We are live. There's the symbol right there. How is everybody doing today? Welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Another Friday, another day of breaking down fights, joined by a beauty of a guest today, LiamPicksFights. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing quite well today, my man. Happy to be here. And, not the world's greatest fight card that we have, but we're gearing up for UFC 266 as well. I know it's on the horizon for all us fight fans. So this is, like John Anik says, one more sleep till we get through this event and we can all look forward to the real prime time piece of UFC 266. But we've got an awesome slate today. I got a lot of action myself, so I'm ready to break it down, my brother. Let's do this.
You know what? With these, I'm not going to say low level because there are some decent ones. But with these lower known fighters, you end up getting these cards who are just usually a lot of finishes, and those are the ones I like to enjoy the most. You get to sit back, relax, watch these, hopefully finishes. I do not have as much action as you, I'll tell you that right now. I have very, very limited action, but I am absolutely loving my spots, and that's exactly what you want. You want confidence going into your bets. You want to make some money, and that's what I feel like I'm going to do. I'm ready for it. I'm just ready for it. 14 fights. We lost one. If anybody saw my DFS video I put out on this channel yesterday, I had Mata as one of my plays just because of line value, but he's gone. But yeah, I honestly, a few misses at weigh-ins, or one major miss at the weigh-ins. And other than that, we have a card ready to go. Good to go as planned.
Dude, so, it wouldn't be a card without somebody I bet against missing the effing weight class, dude. It really wouldn't be a UFC card without somebody I bet against missing the weight. It has to happen, man. It's the fight gods. It's how they take out their anger at me.
The language barrier between he thought he made weight was just hilarious in my opinion, which is well. So
brutal.
You know what?
Brutal.
He's in one of those spots where, like it or not, I know you're against him, but he's plus EV on DraftKings. He's still 7,600. He's still a huge dog on DraftKings. So
yeah, he can crack. So I do think his best path to victory is probably a standing knockout. So something to consider, or even grab and pound finish.
Yes. And I won't be like money line head to head to you, but I will have some shares of him going against your nice values. All right. I say we don't waste any more time. Let's get right into it. I mean, we got 14 fights. You're a busy man. I know you got some jiu-jitsu later.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm not going to keep you. I'm not going to keep you waiting. I know, man. I was watching your video you posted the other day. Absolute killer on the mat, aren't you? All right.
Appreciate you, buddy. Just a blue belt. Just a blue belt with a dream.
You're getting there. All right. First fight of the night, we have the people's main event. We have 4-4 Emily Whitmire against 5-2 Hannah Goldie. And we're starting off the night with a strawweight fight, women's. And I don't know. I usually like to have my action on the first night just to get I like to get my night started off well, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I was kind of hoping for some plus money, some better plus money on Goldie because I know she's an absolute tank and I know she's just a massive girl, but I'm not getting it. I think I'm going to stay away from it. What are your initial thoughts on this fight, my friend?
This was a fight that I didn't take a tremendous interest in betting. For the reasons you said. It's kind of hard to make a sound investment strategy with these women as investment pieces. And it's just because, like, what do you expect from Emily Whitmire? Obviously, she's faced, I'd argue, a higher level of competition in the UFC, but she's also just like, even in matchups where she's able to secure what she's looking for, like able to get a takedown, get on top, she's vulnerable to be submitted by somebody off their back. And now, not to say that Hannah Goldie is like the biggest submission threat, but she is a big, strong girl, probably going to be able to dig underhooks and prevent most of the takedown opportunities here. So, I think that if I was forced to get involved, I would probably consider a dog or pass. But, I also can see why Whitmire is the slight favorite. Hannah Goldie, just like, aside from the physical attributes, her game doesn't seem all that well put together to me. I think I played her. I want to say her last time out, I forget. I think she was a dog or maybe at pick'em price. I think I played her as a slight dog there, and I was just disappointed with the bet. So, I'm not going to invest in either one of these women for the foreseeable future. Maybe something changes, but, around size parity, actually a little bit bigger on the Whitmire side in terms of frame, but I do think she's going to be physically outmatched here by Goldie. Just not a fight I have tremendous interest in financially.
You know what? I was the opposite against you. She fought Belbita last time out. I snagged some Belbita at plus 120, I think it was, and she
Very
closed
nice.
as like the minus 130 favorite. So that's a fight I won't forget. Hannah Goldie is a physical specimen, and she's still putting together her fight game. She's not the most well-rounded, not the most polished fighter on the menu here, but she's facing someone in Emily Whitmire who's just, we know what we're going to get from her at this point. I mean, if she can't get the takedowns, she's going to struggle a bit on the feet. And even if she does get the takedowns, she is not a submission artist. She is a be submitted artist. So honestly, I don't want to have any fate in Whitmire. I was hoping some money came in at Whitmire because she does have the better credentials, but nothing's happening there. Hannah Goldie is training with Julian Robertson. So if she's able to pull off a submission, that's going to help it right there. But I'm going to pass on this one. You know what? It's not something I really like. And whereas I do want violence, Mr. Frank Newman, I don't know if I'm going to get it. So I think that it's way more likely to get a finish on the goalie side. I do think she's able to stuff those takedowns, but I don't want to place money on something that I think is going to happen. I want a big edge in this, and at plus 100, Emily Whitmire has faced a better competition. You never know what you're going to get. And that's what we're saying. So Carter, better late than never. What I missed? What's going on, my friend? How you doing today? You just missed the fight of the night, man. You got to go back and watch it right now. No, not too much missing here. It's we're gonna move on actually from this one right here. That fight's something that we don't really want much part in.
Dude, the only thing I would add though is just I did smack myself on the nose for the Hannah Goldie bet. I'll pat myself on the back. I bet Polyana Viana by first round sub and by sub when she fought Emily Whitmire. But I do think that Polyana Viana and Amanda Hebos are like different level on the ground relative to a lot of women, not just Whitmire. So I do think Whitmire kind of been hung out to dry a little bit by the matchmaking. She might look a lot better in this spot. So that is just something to consider. Like she has been fighting like solid credentialed grapplers. If nothing else, Polyana Viana can kind of bang on the feet, but she's like a good guard player and has submitted other pretty decent guard players. So just something to keep in mind.
I think that if Goldie uses her physical advantages, keeps it on the feet, she wins that fight pretty easily. But it's not something I won't really pardon. So we're going to move right along to the next one.
Yes,
fight
sir.
that is completely different. I think this fight has a lot of potential in this one because both these guys have heart, and that's what I'm going with this fight. The word of the fight for this one in the Gustavo Lopez versus Haley Alateng fight is going to be heart. I mean, Gustavo Lopez gained a fan in me when he was able to keep getting up from those Marab takedowns his first time out on short notice. Huge respect because he would kept just being grinded out. And he goes out there. I had a bet on him against last time out. No, not his last time out. Not against Yanez, but against who did he fight 2 times ago? He fought his buddy Birchak. Yeah, I had money on him, so I gained a fan in him. And then I had money on Casey Kenny against Haley Alateng. The night his ribs just got absolutely destroyed. Me and my roommate sitting on the couch watching that one. He was just like, oh, it was insane. It was one of those fights where that looked painful, and he pushed through it. He kept swinging.
Dude, I had some shares of Casey Kenny inside the distance, and I was like, I'm not even mad at you, dude. That's just credit and respect.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of both these guys. They both have a lot of heart. The thing I see in this fight right here, I'm going to steal a spotlight before I kick it to you. Gustavo Lopez is a very, very aggressive fighter, and I love to see that. He's going to go for it. I think he's pretty well rounded, but we haven't seen him in other than the Yanez fight against that much high level competition. Whereas I think Hailey Alateng fighting who he fought at last time it was Ryan Benoit. He's fought some high level competition. And I think that if Hailey Alateng is able to stick to his game plan, like he's a good wrestler, he just hasn't been using it his last few times out. So if he's able to put all the tools there, I think he's able to win this fight. I just don't know if I want to have money on him because, like I said, he's falling in love with his hands. And I think that if he gets put on his back, he might be able to stay there. I don't know. There's so many different things going on with this fight. I am going to lean Hailey Alateng in this spot here. What about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been asked about this one a few times because I did track a Hailey Alateng bet early. I got on the line at minus 105, and I put down 1.05 units on that. So trying to win a unit here, and the line has obviously moved in my favor. I'm looking now. The market average is minus 132 on Alateng. So, we're going to get some decent closing line value, it would appear. But I do think that I capped this fight around like minus 150, minus 145 for Hailey Alateng. And The reason being is a few. He's got, I believe, the wrestling upside in this matchup, where if he could be criticized for anything in his UFC run, it's that he hasn't always pressed his advantages, right? Like you talked about, it's hard to rely on him to necessarily come out and wrestle. But I do think, number one, given how his last fight went, he's probably going to be more, reticent to wrestle. Number two, I believe he's training with Fight Ready for this camp.
Yep.
Which should prepare him better from a striking and a wrestling standpoint. I believe he has like a functional kickboxing game. He's a pretty good power striker, got some variety to his tools. So I think that it's going to be a competitive fight on the feet. I trust his durability a bit more. I know he was finished a bunch early in his career, but that just hasn't been the case of late. We saw that Casey Kenny beat down. Like I said, I expected Casey Kenny to finish there because of the skills, and he wasn't able to, despite the fact that he was landing, a lot of strikes in that fight. And so, I think that Gustavo Lopez, he could swarm him early and catch him potentially. But I think that outside of that, this is a fight that's going to favor Alateng over the course of 15 minutes. I don't think that Alateng is going to finish him, but I do think that he's live to, because, we've seen Gustavo Lopez has gotten hurt, not just in the UFC, he's gotten hurt on the regional scene as well. So, he could definitely get cracked by a punch here. He could get wrestled a little bit down the stretch. I think that Alateng, in his first two UFC fights, attempted 20 takedowns and got 7 of them. So I do think that he's very live if he starts wrestling early and often here to find takedowns, at least down the stretch. And, I haven't been altogether impressed by Lopez's cardio. Obviously, he was able to get up over and over in the Merab fight on short notice, so that's pretty impressive. But, I don't know what he does functionally that well on offense. He could take the back all right. He could grapple okay. He's got decent enough striking. He just doesn't blow me away in any one area. I don't know where he's going to press an advantage in this fight. And I think if he slows down at all, Alateng's durability, his cardio, his pace will carry the day. But I don't think that, it necessarily warrants a play now as Alateng approaches that minus 140 price tag. Then it's just starting to get closer to where I think this fight should actually be lined. Alateng decision, I think, was plus 180 on FanDuel. Let me double check and see if that price is still available. That was, plus 180 still hanging on FanDuel. So that's probably something I might touch for small exposure, but otherwise, probably not going to get involved in this fight any further. But that's what I like, man. I like Alateng here a little bit. I think he should probably be minus 150 in this spot, around there. And so I'm willing to take the shot, take the stab, and let's hope that he gets this done. I think that he's got some upside and some potential here. So let's hope for the best.
I think the biggest issue I have with being up north as I am is I don't have access to all these books. I don't got my FanDuels. I don't got my DraftKings sports books. So I'm stuck here. I got my 3 books, and within them, I got nothing. I wanted to go place a bet at minus 120. I missed it. I'm stuck with minus 140s, minus 138s across the board. And I do think that Alateng is a side here. I just don't want to lay that much. I do cap him around that price tag, and I'm not getting an advantage, right? We've had 2 weeks off. The lines have adjusted across those time, but I missed out, and that's my bad. But we live and we learn. I think I'm just going to play a bit of shares. I mean, if you are thinking the fight's going to finish, there's a big plus money. I was going to be all over the over because like I said, these guys have heart, and I thought it was going to go long. It's juiced to minus 200 for over 2.5. I don't know if I want to play that at all. So
minus 180 best available on FanDuel as well. So it's really, there's not a ton of meat on the bone there.
So it's one of these things where I think it's just going to be sit back and watch, gather, see where they are, because Haley Alateng had a lot of hype around him, and then he gets out there, gets but he gets beat up pretty badly against Casey Kenny. So I do think he's the better fighter in the spot. It's just not someone I really want to lay chalk. So I'm going to move on from that one. I do love your spot. Minus 105. I would have hammered that all day, but I'm stuck. I missed out, and that is my fault. That's what happens when you're just watching football all day, getting ready for football lines. I've been building lines. I got my video that went out a couple of days ago, and I missed out, and that is my bad. But we'll move on.
I got brutalized last night on my prize pick selections for the Washington football team and Giants game. Yeah, because I only say I got brutalized because everything was going so well, except that Gibson non-touchdown just blew up all my parlays. Brutal, man. Brutal. They gave his touchdown away. Brutal.
Gibson was my captain on DraftKings for like half my lineups. So I went like, I think only 50% of my lineups hit, which was really sad because I got the rest of the. Anyways, we're not here to talk about football. Before we
Yes,
do though,
sir.
what's your football team? You a football guy at all?
Honestly, marginally. When I was a young man, I liked the Indianapolis Colts because I have like a defining memory of football where Peyton Manning wins the Super Bowl against the Bears. So that was for me like peak football. That I'll never get better than that. That was the last time I like sat down with the family to watch a football game. It's just not who I am. But I will say got me to tune back in last night because I was hoping to get some wins on Prize Picks. So maybe I'll be getting back into football here day by day, just a little bit. It's a fun game, man. I will say I just don't watch sports, don't participate in other ones. I'm a combat nut, but it's a fun game, man. American football is an interesting sport.
Yeah, I'm definitely not wasn't really a sport I grew up watching that much, just because Canadian. I got my hockey on. I got my UFC on the weekends too, and that's what I loved. Sit down with my dad, best thing ever. But you get in here, and I got a bunch of friends who are watching it too. So if you ever need help with any NFL, you know where to find me, my friend. Everybody else in the chat, same thing with that as well. All right, moving on to a very, very interesting fight, and this is one that I've been staring at. I think you may be able to push me over the edge depending on what you see this fight as. Impa Kasagne versus Carlston Harris. And I was you can't think about Impa Kasagne without thinking that he got knocked out, highlight reel knockout, greatest knockout in the past ever 10 years, 5 years, I don't know. It's an insane knockout, highlight reel, most viral knockout of all time. On the receiving end of that, goes out there, finishes. A lot of people are forgetting he got a nice finish his last time out, facing someone in Carlston Harris, who UFC debut destroyed it his first time. So big shout out to him. You got someone who used to be a big prospect for someone who is a big prospect now, going head to head. And here's the thing. I told myself that if Impa Kasagne got to plus money, I would play it immediately because there's no way he should be plus money. I had minus 110 and I hesitated. Now it's gone. I think that whoever is the dog in the spot is the value play, in my opinion, because this fight's close. I do see the Carlton Harris side. I do see him able to get that, to expose that takedown defense, and I do see him able to be relentless and do that. But I do think that all around on the feet, that Impa is a great fighter and should not be at plus money here. What are your thoughts on this one?
This is a tricky fight, man. I've had people that I really respect in this game convicted, like strongly convicted both directions. And that's something that always scares me. I was initially leaning Impa as the line was closing. I was like, I'm seeing that Carlston Harris is going to be a popular underdog this week. And so maybe I get in on Impa late. My concern for Impa is that, there's not a ton of footage of him defending takedowns. There's not a ton of footage of him grappling. The footage that does exist is like a mixed bag. There's something I hate about fighters when they concede guard, when they just start playing from their guard. I hate to see it because even if you want to submit somebody, I don't think that that's like a high efficiency way to submit somebody. You have to generate scrambles. You have to generate fluid situations where somebody's moving in order to create submission opportunities a lot of the time. If you're a higher level player, obviously that's not the case, but a lot of these times in the UFC, these are frenetic, like scrambly type submissions that people are able to pull off, or they get a dominant position. And, I do think Impa physically is very strong. I do think he's going to be difficult to impose a game plan on physically. And, one of the things that, I feel like I have personal experience with is just like how exhausting it is to wrestle and grapple somebody that's a freak athlete. And Impa does strike me as like a very solid, well-built athlete. It's obvious by how fast he's progressed in MMA that he's got real, potential. That being said, I'm not going to lay a minus number on Impa is the decision I came to. I kind of support what you were saying there, that this is a dog or pass type fight based on some of the unknowns, man. Carlston Harris did impress me when I watched his regional footage by and large. Not the toughest regional fights of all time. I forget that guy he fought. He's like he's like the cornerstone for Brave. What the heck is that guy's name? Al Sawara or something, the something or the Jordanian Tiger or something they call him. He got flatlined in that fight. But Otherwise, man, he's put together a pretty decent run. I like, Aiden in the chat is saying Carlston has cardio for days. Um, you know, I haven't always seen that, but obviously he has been able to keep it up for 5 rounds, in terms of wrestling and grappling somebody, trying to get a hold of him. But I do think that's also because he was bigger, physical, more athletic than a lot of guys he fought on the regional scene. Impa is a different quality and caliber of athlete than a lot of those guys would be. And that's something you always got to keep in mind in the UFC. If somebody's got like a big man bully type game and it's working for them really well in the regional scene, just approach with caution and see how it works in the UFC. I felt like he had a really winnable matchup his first time out. I capped him at 65% in that fight with Christian Aguilera. So that was a good spot for him. And he has a money Darce He has a very solid front headlock game. There's no, like, who could deny that? It's fun to watch. Like, he's got a crazy frenetic grappling pace as well. I like that about him. But I do think Impa's getting better every fight, man. And I'm not going to be rushing to get in front of Impa Kasanganay. I'm also not going to be rushing to the bet window because I thought he should have smashed Buckley. And, it was kind of a meme-like fashion that he loses that fight. But even on rewatch, he's not winning that fight. He's losing that fight. So it's a tricky one, man. I think that if Impa's improving at the rate that I expect he should be, this should be the kind of matchup that he can win. He's got a significant youth advantage here. I think he's 7 years younger as well. Carlston Harris has been cutting his teeth for a long time on the regional scene. So that's to his credit, but it's also, kind of shit or get off the pot, 34 years old in a professional fighting career. So I think that this is a big opportunity, a big spot. Stunned that this fight wasn't on the main card because I think it's a damn good fight. But I'm excited to see how it plays out, man. I do think, people also got to just pump the brakes a tiny bit on the Sasha Palatnikov win. I do think it's impressive, obviously, and the manner in which he got it, no hooks, rear naked choke. You're not going to no hooks, rear naked choke Carlston Harris, like 9 out of 10 times. And then on top of that, Sasha has been submitted again since against Ramiz Brahimaj. It's not like he's bad. It's just like, I would agree even that Aiden's saying a lot of sharps know Harris is the side. True, but they bet him at plus 155. And now the board is down to plus 100. So, I think the best price you can get Carlston Harris is plus 105. I still see some sharps that I respect touching that number for whatever that's worth. But, this is probably going to be a fight I end up passing on, but I'm just excited to watch it. I think it's a phenomenal matchup.
I mentioned in my video that I posted yesterday that Carlston Harris is my DraftKings dog play of the week because he is sitting there at a price tag of 7.3K and he's going to go out there, he's going to chain wrestle, and he's going to, in my opinion, I think he's going to expose that takedown defense of Impa Kasanganay. The problem I have with it is Impa's a very, very smart guy. If you ever watch any interview, he's a very smart guy. And I know he's going to be training it. And I know he's going to be working hard on it. And whereas I do think that Carlston Harris is going to be able to get those takedowns and imply that game plan that he's working so hard on, that he's so good at, maybe even lock up a submission. Like I said, like Aiden said in the chat, plus 500 is the number that you can get for sub. I don't mind that. The problem I have with it is I don't want to lay too much on someone that I don't know how much I'm going to see improvement of. I know I'm going to see improvement from Impa Kasanganay. He's hungry. He's ready to go. Carlston Harris has this one-dimensional game plan, which he's very, very good at. I'll give him all the credit. And I do think Carlston Harris is going to win this fight. That's why I'm backing him so much on DraftKings, is I don't want to have too many shares of it, because if I have money on it too, and Impa Kasanganay is over there to be able to stuff these takedowns every time, starch him, I'm going to be losing my DraftKings lineups and my bets, and I don't want that. I think that if I was able to get Carlston Harris at anything above plus 120, I would have loved it. I just missed out, and that is my mistake, because I do love my wrestlers. You know that. I love my wrestlers all the time. So
For sure.
I do think that he's the side here at plus money, but I also think that Carlston Harris shouldn't be favored, because I would not be paying chalk for him. He hasn't really faced that high of competition, and it's just going to be a great fight to sit back and enjoy. He could be slightly.
The thing I would add here is I'm looking at best fight odds, and I'm seeing that the fight doesn't go to decision is at plus 110. That seems like a play that I might be interested in touching. Yeah, that's on Bet Online, and market wide the average is plus 101. So bookmakers unsure of whether this is going to decision or not, and I have a feeling that this might not go to decision either way. You know, if we see that Carlston Harris is able to get that offensive wrestling going, then he's probably going to be able to find a submission opportunity, or he very well is live to. He's got a dangerous game there, and he's aggressively going to pursue it. But on top of that, you know, if there's a concern I have on the Impa side with laying chalk on him, it's that durability factor. And, you know, I do think hopefully that was just a blip on the radar, but man, like he should have cleaned up Buckley. He was a significant favorite there, like minus 250. And
Don't remind me.
it just, dude, it cost me a lot of money too. Don't worry. But I literally acknowledged in the moment, I turned to my girlfriend as I'm losing all the money and going, that was the greatest knockout that I've ever seen live on television.
Oh, I wasn't mad.
I watched a lot of fights. It was just unbelievable. So what are you going to say, man? It's just, I think Impa, good fighter, still has some question marks to answer himself. So that's why people have eaten up all the plus money on Harris. I get it. I won't fault anybody for doing so. But, you know, I'm not going to plant my flag in this matchup. I think that it could go either way. And, you know, if Harris gets stuck on the feet, he's not a bad striker. He's kind of unorthodox. He's a little weird. He's got power in his punches. The rear straight he throws with some good power. But, you know, if he doesn't tag Impa, I think Impa could definitely tag him. Impa doesn't have any knockouts, but he does throw pretty damn hard.
Point fighter.
Dude, he does throw fast, hard, straight punches though. And Harris, because he's constantly like entering, he's trying to enter the pocket. He could run himself onto one of those punches, and then somebody who doesn't look like a big puncher turns into a big puncher. So just something to consider. You know, maybe going to touch that fight doesn't go to a decision at plus 110, but nothing yet on that fight for me.
Nope. Harris is my underdog of the week on DraftKings, and I will stand by that. And that'll probably be it for me. I'm going to really enjoy watching this fight. And then probably what's going to happen is that Harris is going to win, and I'm going to get mad at myself for not betting it. But that is going to be on me. Yeah, that's another fight we'll talk about later too. Montel Jackson. Again, I'm going to keep referring to the video. He's my pay-up option of the week, and we'll get to that later. Both those fights, I don't know if they're going to go. The only worry I would have is if Harris is just going to lay on him. I know he's a very aggressive fighter, but you never know what you're going to get when you're chain wrestling like that, especially a guy with Impa, who I do think has a lot of heart. He wants to be the best in the world. I'd just be worried about it. I do think that Carlton Harris is the side here. So I hope it brings us well, but I do like that fight doesn't go. All right, moving right along. Great conversation there to a fight that, you know what, kind of sad. My boy Phoenix MMA, not here with us today. That's okay. Me and him, the first video we ever did together, we just did a singular video. It was Erin Blanchfield. She was, I think she was fighting Dumont the days that she botched weight, and we just made a singular video on it, breaking it down. Erin Blanchfield is going in here, and she's facing Sarah Alpar, and she's sitting right now as a hefty favorite, market wide around what, minus 450 in some places, minus 300, minus 350.
Online, she is minus 450, dude.
That's the thing, man. She is a heavy favorite, and she's getting up there in price tags that I don't really want to touch female fighters on. All right. Thinking of that, though, I got to bet on her, even at that price tag. So we're going to keep going. I parlayed her with a football team. You're going to see that a lot when I post my bets tomorrow. Is I love parlaying my favorite teams of the week with my favorite fighters of the week. I think that's the best way because I do love my football, and I'm able to see if I can beat value that way. And I'd much rather parlay them a football team that I think is going to win and a singular fighter than two fighters because there's a lot of variance with fights sometimes, right? So I played them with the Washington football team, who made me sweat yesterday. I don't know if you caught any of that. You caught the ending of that game, right?
I caught the whole game. Yeah, it was a banger, man.
What? Oh, he missed that kick, and I was like, oh, there goes my bet on Blanchfield. I got to figure it out another way. The thing is, she's going in here, and I truly think she is miles ahead of Sarah Alpar. And the problem is she's justifying that price tag, I think. I think that Erin Blanchfield has a lot of promise, and I think she's going to just dispose of Sarah Alpar this weekend. We saw Sarah Alpar be finished last time out. I don't think she's that good. I'm even considering the thing you shouldn't do in women's MMA, and that is betting on Erin Blanchfield to finish the fight. How crazy am I?
I don't think you're insane. I had looked at the Erin Blanchfield inside the distance play because, frankly, like, just I don't know, man. At minus 450, like, I don't know how she justifies that price. It's possible that she does. Like, obviously, she could just be levels above here, but Like that would mean to me she's like control grappling the whole time and finishing early. Like, there's never a doubt. And I do think that, if I could make a criticism of Erin Blanchfield, who's obviously a very good fighter, and, being priced accordingly, despite the fact that she doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience, sometimes she'll play a little bit from the back. She's fighting a wrestler. She's fighting somebody that, is around the same size. And so obviously she's a little bit smaller, but could get in on legs, could be able to find takedowns. If I was on Alpar, I'd be concerned that she gets subbed here, pursuing takedowns aggressively. Blanchfield, Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I train with an affiliate. I believe in what they're doing, obviously. And on top of that, I know for, based on the personal experiences of friends and teammates and coaches, that what they're doing in the blue basement is very real and it works, and it's at a high level. So I'm not going to go ahead and say that Erin Blanchfield can't get a submission here. She definitely can. She's also proven that she can, score a knockout. That head kick finish is the one that everybody points to. It's impressive, not to say that she's the world's best and most comfortable striker. I don't believe that for a second. I just think that, among two uncomfortable strikers, she's probably the more comfortable striker of the two. So Alpar is going to be consistently wrestling from Jump Street. That's how I feel. And that's why I think it's a little bit of a tricky fight. This could turn into a, ugly press against the cage, type of fight. And I do think that, I don't know. I don't ever feel like I'm in a rush to play minus 450 on a women's fighter not named Valentina Shevchenko or Amanda Nunes, period. So that's just the way I'm at right now. Although I also can acknowledge up front that I've just had a tougher time betting on women's fights. I don't often or I'm not always the best at evaluating physicality between two women by example. Just like a couple things that I feel like I have a better eye for in men's fighting, I'm working on in the women's game. And so this is a fight that I haven't touched, but if I was to touch something at this point, it's Sarah Alpar at plus 350 or Sarah Alpar by decision in all likelihood. I don't think Sarah Alpar is likely to finish this fight, but I do think that if this comes down to a greasy type decision and you're holding a minus 450 in your pocket, you're going to be like, for fuck's sake. And so that's the reason why I'm just going to I'm not going to take a share of Erin Blanchfield here. Let me look at what the inside the distance is hanging at, because I think I saw it at plus 385 the other day.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to
dude, Blanchfield inside the distance is plus 200. Oh,
yeah, that's what I was saying.
I would not play it at all.
Yeah.
At all. At plus 385, I probably should have played it because now it's been absolutely steamed. But
people see just the same way we do. I mean, what is it? Win inside distance. Where did
Blanchfield sub at plus 500 is like probably my favorite bet on this fight now. But I also am just probably not going to touch anything.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I'm looking at spreading out my shares of it too, and I do think that Blanchfield is a side on this big time. And when I have a team that I have yesterday who's sitting at a minus 175 favorite, I don't want to bet the spread. It's a good parlay piece, and the chips fell my way, and now I have plus money.
So what did you actually lock her up at, though? What price?
Let's find out. Minus 330, 1 unit to win.
See, minus 330. I'm not like I don't think that's an egregious bet. But dude, just like anything past minus 400 to me, it's just like outrageous.
Yeah, that's that's Nunes Valentina levels.
That's Talia Santos against Roxy levels.
Oh no,
I think she's minus 400.
Is she? I haven't looked. So. I gotta start looking ahead more. Yeah, like I said, football's putting a damper on it. But yeah, if I got plus money going in on Blanchfield, I'm super happy with it. I think that she is levels above, like I said many times. And the big thing too is the reason I didn't go much bigger. My bet is she's going to be a sneaky DraftKings option, in my opinion. She's going to be super low owned. No one's going to touch her because there's so many high favorites. And I mean, that's how you win these big prize pools. You have 14 fights in the slate. You're going to have to be different. You're going to have to figure out a way to separate yourself. She should be a low and expensive option. And I wouldn't counter out of finishing the fight. Alpar's been finished before. Blanchfield has the skill set to do it. She's live. She's live. So I do like that spot there. It's an interesting.
You know what? Sneaker angle, but this is what I just thought of. Dana White probably wants Sarah Alpar to lose her next fight. based on the
Yeah.
Jake Paul situation, so he could get her out of the UFC.
Oh yeah, because he donated money to her training camp fund.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
that's
makes
who
me
it
think
was.
that they're like, all right, who's the toughest prospect that we could sign to get this chick out of the UFC?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that for sure. That's just I like to have a little conspiracy angle. Yeah, every card, just one little sneaker, and that is just something I have in the back of my mind. I'm like, how bad does Dana White want Sarah Alpar to lose this fight so he can be like, yeah, thanks, good luck in your future endeavors.
The thing too about someone making their debut is usually they're stepping up a competition. Isn't Aaron Blanchfield's only lost in the regional scene to Cortez, or is that somebody else?
That's correct. Yeah, she lost a split
Yeah.
decision to Tracy Cortez in Invicta in 2019, and since then beat Victoria Leonardo, UFC fighter, and then two other ladies who I'm not familiar with their work.
So she's not even taking a step up in competition. Fair play. All right, I like my spot. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna keep it rolling. Jake Paul side, you know what? I'm not going to give him the attention he wants. Me and my nice little 5-viewer chat we can move on from that. How's everybody doing in there? We're doing okay. Play the narrative, Carter. I agree. It's gonna be Blanchfield all day here. I think she goes big, but I don't want to have too much money on it because, again, women's fight making her debut. You know how it is. All right, I think we move on to the next one. This next one is one that, what time is it? 6:09. Let's get some little ASMR in here. Okay, we're getting started.
Love it. I love it.
Next one is a fight that my co-host in the Plays and Face channel mentioned that this fight probably shouldn't be sanctioned, and I can kind of agree with that one. We're facing someone in Montel Jackson against someone JP Bays. Oh my, you read my mind, Aiden. You read my mind. Oh, that's not it. That one. That's a good parlay piece. I could not believe that someone who's sitting at a minus 600 price tag was minus 150 to finish, especially someone in JP Bays who's been finished in 3 fights. I couldn't believe it. Do not. We're not saying that here. We don't say the L word here. There's no such thing. Or I'll edit on a video, a picture. Did you see that video I made? It was just edit on a clown symbol over Kiro's head because he almost said it. Yeah, but this is a spot where you have a massive advantage for almost every single area of the game for someone like Montel Jackson against someone in JP Bays who's moving up a weight division, facing the best fighters ever fought before. It's someone that Montel Jackson is ready to go for. It just seems too good to be true. It's like they're feeding him to the dogs. I mean, I don't think that JP Bays, I think he should look for a new manager. Unless he's seeing, like, the problem I have here is who has Montel Jackson struggled against, and that has been chain wrestlers and someone who's able to put him down there on their back. In order to wrestle someone the way that Brett Johns did, you can't be JP Bays' size and weight. I think the weight thing is going to be a huge difference here. He's going to be a smaller guy. I think Montel Jackson's the side here a million times. He's my play of the week on DraftKings this week. And I just, you know what? I'm going to let you take over. What do you think on this fight?
I was going to say, I'm glad that I'm here then, because I'm gonna bring a little bit of a different take to the table. I'm on JP Bays here, small. But yeah, man, I had to touch the price. Dude, I honestly thought it was going to come in a little bit when he was like minus 500 and JP was plus 375. I was like, man, Montel Jackson, like they're just pricing this based on the Jesse Strader fight again. Like, because, that's part of my logic here is number one, is JP Bays as bad as Jesse Strader? I don't think that he is. And like, does he have as few paths to victory in this fight as Jesse Strader did? I don't know that he does. And I bet Jesse Strader there. And so that was an embarrassing bet, obviously. Like, Jesse Strader didn't look very good. But it's because Montel Jackson gets so much love on the betting line. He's like the biggest, everybody loves Montel Jackson in the market. And I could get why. He's got some physical advantages. He's obviously a big guy for the bantamweight division. But dude, I just have to say, like, I don't like, or I should say I don't love super tall fighters that cut a tremendous amount of weight to make a lower division. I think that that's a concern. I think that, I've seen the same mistakes from a wrestling perspective over and over from Montel Jackson. As far as I know, he comes from a Greco-Roman background, and you can almost tell when he's competing because he's a good, he's good at digging underhooks. He's not easy to control or anything like that. But I do think that, oftentimes when somebody presses him against the fence, he keeps a close enough base that he can have his legs pulled out from underneath him. And it's cost him in more than one fight. The Ricky Simone fight, it cost him again against Brett Johns. And Brett Johns, I pointed out that he got absolutely ragdolled by Danny Sabatello because Brett Johns isn't the world's best wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He can control, he can press, he can force the issue of wrestling somebody against the cage. I understand the narrative on JP. He is small. He is going to be an undersized 135er, and that's my number one concern here is that he might not be able to get the power, lift, whatever he needs to get his wrestling game going. And if he can't, I do think it's possible he's going to fold up shop here. But I expect his cardio to be better at the weight class. I expect he will have better durability, honestly, at the weight class. I do expect that. Cutting weight is hard on the body. It's hard on the durability. And dude, I do think also Bruno Silva's a fucking hammer. Bruno Silva hits like a truck. And he's not the world's greatest fighter, but I thought it was a bad matchup. I bet Bruno Silva there. I bet him inside the distance. And so, now I think that JP is just being written off completely by the market. I believe that the same thing happened with Cheyenne. When she was going to fight, I think she went from being a decent-sized favorite. I forget it all now. I was looking at this a couple days ago, but I think she was a decent-sized favorite, lost a fight, and then comes back out for the next one and is moderately priced against 5-3 Gloria De Paula. And so, I think that it's possible that JP looks refreshed and rejuvenated here. I don't think that if he stays on the feet for very long, he's going to do well. I do think Montel is just a much better striker, more comfortable boxing, crisper boxing, more focused game. JP kind of just a loose striking game, doesn't have a ton of process behind it. And I think that obviously, Aiden's pointing out the physical disadvantages, massive, right? Massive. But that to me screams minus 400, not minus 650 or whatever he's jumped out to now. And so, I touched the line at plus 375 because I thought it was going to come in the other way for 0.21 units. And then I added 0.19 units at plus 440. I think now you can get plus 475. I added 0.1. I haven't tracked that yet, but just seems wide to me. I think that it's not likely that JP is going to, just ragdoll him, but I think JP opportunistic back take submission, not out of the question. I thought about playing JP by submission. I believe plus 1600 was hanging yesterday. I have to see what it's at now. But man, I just think that, Montel Jackson, obviously very talented fighter, but this is what I did yesterday when I was going through these fights was I just ran through who he's beat in the UFC. He Darce choked Brian Kelleher after hurting him. So a club and sub on Brian Kelleher, which is impressive. Brian Kelleher is one of the better unranked 135ers in the UFC. But outside of that, he beat Andre Sukumtath. Not that impressive a win, in my opinion. Felipe Kolares, who also took him down as far as I remember. And it was a middling UFC win. Felipe Kolares doesn't have a huge future in the organization, in my opinion. And then Jesse Strader. He lost to Brett Johns. He lost to Ricky Simone. And he won a fight on Contender Series. So I'm I don't know. For me, those physical advantages, the stylistic advantages, they say minus 400. But further and further the line goes past there, the bigger you're going to give me past plus 375. It's I just think JP Bays, I believe he was a favorite against Bruno Silva before the betting.
Oh, minus 220. He was big favorite.
So now we're saying he sucks. Now we're saying he has no chance. I'm just I don't buy that. I think there's a little recency bias on that. And I do think Montel is the side. I think he should win. I think he's probably, 75 to 80% in this spot. But I also think that the market loves them some Montel Jackson. I think that there's a bunch of if you look, there's a bunch of big favorites on this card, which isn't always the case for a UFC. I think that people are going to be throwing together some 2, 3, 4 leg parlays on this card. And I think that that's part of the reason why this Montel line has continued to grow like it has, because, it's just been going one direction all week. And I'm interested to see how it goes.
See, my motto is I would never put money on a fighter I think is going to lose. Even if I even though there might be a lapse in the market, I don't want to throw my money away. I do think that the price tag, I'm not going to say justify, but I do think it's justified, if that makes sense. Like I'm not going to go screaming like, oh, he should be minus 10,000 out there, but I do think he should be a large favorite, and strictly because there is the path to victory JP Buys has is he's supposed to wrestle him and pin him against his back the same way that Ricky Simone did, or the same way that Brett Johns did, and JP Buys is not going to be able to do that. I don't see him coming to a weight class to be able to help that at all. I don't see him closing the distance as well. And I'm not a fan of his cardio the way that you are. I mean, I guess the weight difference could add to his cardio and durability. I don't think so, really. I think that he will come out there hungry. Maybe he'll make me work for my money in the first round, but I think that Montel Jackson has every single advantage in the book here, and I think he's going to justify his price tag on Saturday. I mean, I respect you taking a shot. You're going to look like an absolute genius if Buys comes in, because no one is on Buys at all. I mean,
well, dude, and the other thing I'll say is, dude, he's a he's an extreme couture fighter. Like, I don't know. He trains with a good team. I don't think he's just a scrub. Like, if he was just some bum coming in off the street, I get it. The Jesse Strader line, hindsight makes sense. Short notice type. This to me just seems like a tougher spot, where if Montel hasn't made improvements in the wrestling, it could get greasy. That's all. I think, obviously, Montel's the clear side. Better in most positions, right? And I do think if Montel is getting to his offensive wrestling, JP's probably going to pack up the bags. But that's because, any wrestler who can't get their wrestling going and is getting out-wrestled is going to go, oh, fuck, what's my path to win this fight now? I think if JP can get his wrestling going early, the fight becomes interesting. That's all.
Yeah, and I said it myself in the video. I'm going to keep referring to it. I think JP Buys has some wins in him, but I don't think it's at this division. I think it's back wherever he was before and against people who aren't named Montel Jackson. I'm going to leave it at that. I do think I agree. I do think that the difference between offensive and defensive wrestling too are a big thing here too. Montel, I think, is a better offensive wrestler, but we've seen him struggle off his back. So we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to tell you my play right now. I'm going to get a bit selfish and steal some spotlight. Montel Jackson to finish minus 150. Parlay that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facing the Atlanta Falcons, and you got yourself a plus money bet right there. I love that. That's one of my favorite bets the entire weekend. Because
I could support that 100% because I'm on Tampa in my eliminator tournament. So rock and roll, Gordo.
Smart man. I mean, you look here, and I snagged this when Montel Jackson was minus 150. Buccaneers were like minus 650. And now the Buccaneers are minus 750. And Montel Jackson to finish is minus 165. So I think Montel Jackson gets him out of there. I think that JP Buys is going to go for broke in the first round, and he's going to pay the price. That's where we're going to leave it at. I know you're a busy man on your schedule, so we're gonna move on to the next one. But yeah, that was a great discussion for that one. I respect you, and if JP Buys wins, man, enjoy that 4 unit. You're going to turn into what, 3? But unfortunately, I'm going to have to go against you there. Okay, Zhu Rong, 17-4, facing short notice replacement Brandon Jenkins, 15-7. Brandon Jenkins won me some money in PFL, with that flying knee, that one fight he had in the PFL. And then you have someone Zhu Rong. Yep, exactly. And then you have someone lingo as well, right? You have someone in Zhu Rong who froze under the spotlight his first time out. I had Zhu Rong as one of my DFS plays that week. Sorry, I didn't bet on him. And he burnt me. He lost to Vargas. I thought he was a better time, and he looked awful. And then he comes out there, and he looks awful on the scale. Thank you, Aiden. It's one of these things where the cards say Zhu Rong. I think he has the better skill set. I think he has the better attributes. And I think that if he lives up to if he plays his cards right, it's his fight to lose. I'm not laying minus 250 ever. What is he? Is that what it is? Is he minus 250?
The best available market price is minus 270, my man. And the market average is minus 302 for Zhu Rong.
No. I think that Zhu Rong has the path. I would never lay that kind of chalk on someone who looked as poor as he did the first time out. I mean, he started letting his hands go as soon as he wobbled off this thing. But I think that the only way I'm going to play this, because I will be playing it, is going to be exactly like Carter said. Zhu Rong is, I think, $7,400 on DraftKings, or $7,600 on DraftKings. He is still listed as if he was going to fight his last fight. He's going to be a minus 350 favorite some places. And yet he is going to have that price tag. So that's the way you save your money and spend that for someone like Montel Jackson up there, or Montel Zuki, which we'll talk about later. But I think that Zhu Rong is one of those big favorites that you do not parlay this weekend. He is unreliable, and he has faced a lot of cans on the regional scene. He fought it before the UFC, and he got to the big show. Maybe the crowd had an effect. I know that was a fight there was crowds at, but he didn't look good. And I don't want my money in someone who did not look good. I don't know what he's going to look like. I'm just going to sit back, watch this fight, collect some DFS points, and just gauge and see where he's at. Because if he's able to put all his tools together, he should win this one. But I'm not gonna count out Jenkins. Flying knee KO. He's a wild man. How's it going, Payne? How you doing, my friend? So yeah, I do think that Jenkins is live here, especially at that price tag. I don't think that Zhu Rong should be that big of a favorite at all, and I will not be parlaying him, is what I'm trying to say. What are your thoughts? Because I know your thoughts, actually. Tell me why.
Dude, here's what I'll tell you, right? If you guys haven't picked up on this yet, I try not to lay heavy chalk unless I'm like really feeling like it's justified. Like I need you to convince
8-unit
me
play.
if I'm gonna lay. Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll get to that one too. That one I am confident in, but this one, it was a fight where it just struck me immediately. I see the line get dropped, and I want to say open -200 or something like that, and it started getting steam, and I'm like, really? Just because Zhu Rong did not look good in his last fight. Obviously, there's some stuff to like about the guy. He's got power, he's a young guy with a lot of experience. People like to see that. Like Gordo mentioned, though, he fought a lot of cans and hasn't always looked amazing in his fights. If there's one thing you can criticize him for, it's a lack of volume. It's a lack of activity. It's a lack of decisiveness. And, what struck me, he was looking over to the corner multiple times, like for instruction, and his corner, like his lead corner, I think wasn't there. A lot of the Chinese fighters had trouble that night. Oh crap, I was frozen for a second. But a lot of Chinese fighters had trouble that night. Their lead corner person was not there. Cost me some money, not on Zhu Rong, but on some of the other fighters that were there that night. So
did you have Weili that night?
I did. I might have to have her again because the price is getting shorter, but we'll have to see, man. It was unfortunate, that one. Had a pretty decent wager on her, and didn't get to see the fight play out for very long.
Smith Crute night as well.
Yep. And I believe I don't know that I had any money on that, but if I did, it was probably on Crute.
I had some money on Smith. I had some money on Rose, and that was I should have called you that weekend.
What the hell was I doing?
Bro, I got a takedown that weekend. That was one of my favorite weekends of fights, bro. I got takedown on DraftKings. It was a great time. It was awesome. All right, carry on. Sorry, I had to just flex a bit,
No, you're good, brother. So yeah, I'll just tell people, I got 0.55 units down at +270. I'm very proud of that. I look back now, +248, I think, is the best available market price on Brandon Jenkins. And, I'll be honest, guy, I blind bet this. I didn't even look at who Brandon Jenkins was before I bet it, because I was like, Zhu Rong shouldn't be -300 in the UFC, period. And then when I looked at Brandon Jenkins, if I had to, again, give a criticism, it's just that I wish he had a more clear, process-driven game. He's a lot of one big strike and hopefully it kills you at a time. But he actually is just slightly more active than Zhu Rong, at least based on what we saw from Zhu Rong last time out. So I'm willing to take the plunge. 0.55 units to return, I think, a little over 2 units. So, man, I'm excited about the bet. I didn't want to get out over my skis and overexpose myself there, but just felt like this is a pretty comfortable, solid spot to play an underdog here. To fade the big favorite tickets behind this Zhu Rong guy, and I'm willing to take the stab. I'm willing to stand against the market here if they're pushing it out to -300 and beyond. I'll play Jenkins.
Jenkins should not be that big of a plus money. I mean, he's got a shot. He's a wild man, like Aiden said. So it's one of these things. It's like you have someone who looked awful his last time out, and you're still going to push him out to be a -300 favorite. What are you thinking? Is there something we don't know?
Last time out looked like shit on the scale.
Yeah, and he misses weight and still flexes, which was kind of funny, by the way. But oh well. I just don't get it. Is there something? I just don't know what we're missing here. I think that the problem that Jenkins has is it looks like he has a decent chin. Not Jenkins, sorry. Jenkins is going to have a problem with Rong Zhu or Zhu Rong's chin because it looked decent, and that's usually how Jenkins like to win this fight is by those crazy knockouts. So maybe I'm wrong.
I hope he edges a
but
decision, man. I think he could edge a decision on volume here if we get a similar output from Zhu Rong. And I think that, if not that, he could definitely be live for a finish. Shit-eating wild men always are. So I think that should be a good scrap, good opportunity.
You know what? The amount of puns I can make with someone whose last name is wrong, I'm just going to skip by it. We're just going to hope. I hope you cash your ticket. I will be playing some Zhu Rong on DraftKings, but other than that, no action from me. Sit back. I hope he does do better than the last time out because he didn't.
Dude, and I could hedge that play now because it's minus 270, best market price on Zhu Rong, and plus 270.
I say you roll it.
Oh, of course.
Roll it.
Of course.
I love it. And best of luck to you. All right, moving right along. Penny Kinzad, 15-5, facing Raquel Pennington, 11-8. And the word of this fight is level of experience. That's 3 words. The words of this fight is level of experience. I'm really close. There's another fight where I'm on the edge to betting Raquel. I mean, I see the hype on Penny, and I believe that the hype is justified. But I don't know why Raquel Pennington, someone who has been out there against the best of the best in the division, without question, she's fought the best of the division. And she was sitting at evens at one point, I'm pretty sure. That's what I'm wondering about. I don't know. It's one of these ones where I'm on the fence. So whatever you say here could impact my wallet tomorrow. So be careful. What are your thoughts on this?
I got you, brother. Well, yeah, it's a theme for me, right? I'm always looking at these dog shots first and foremost, if I think that there's value. And, one of the ways I like to look at these fights and target them is, and it doesn't always work, right? I have sometimes a crystal ball where I can, make a pretty decent read on where the line's going to go. And sometimes I bet 2 units on Joaquin Buckley at minus 200, thinking that the line's going to go crazy. And then it stays exactly where it is. So you're stuck with a tracked bet of 2 units at minus 200. Now, back to this fight, though, I do think that this is a very winnable fight for Penny if she's able to keep her back off the fence, which I don't know that she's going to be able to do, right? I took small exposure here. I went 0.47 units at plus 115, and that line is gone. That's plus 110 now on the Penny side. And so, again, I'm going to have a little bit of closing line value here. One of the ways that I try and do that is I look at what the smart books are taking action on. I saw a lot of love coming in on Penny when she was available at a better plus price. And I was like, ooh, I should probably take plus 115 while it's here and give myself options. So it's gone, but it hasn't moved as much as I thought. I did expect this line to close at straight pick'em. And I do think Pennington's the better fighter here. If I had to say why I like Penny, overall, it's that she has been so active. Like Penny just has been staying in the cage. I think 3 times she's appeared since the last time we've seen Raquel Pennington. And so Raquel Pennington, obviously faced a better level of competition, but they've been bringing Penny along slowly, and she already had skills. I think that while this fight is contested at striking range, Penny's going to be faster. Penny's going to be landing the better, cleaner shots. And I also think that, man, I bet Davis small last time against Penny.
Me too.
I was surprised. I was surprised to see Penny pull it off like that. And so Penny's been impressing me. I don't want to keep getting in the way of her and have her keep turning away the older women of this division. And so I went small. I took the plus 115 number. If I get closing line value, I'll be happy there. I think if you're playing either of these ladies, probably play their decision line at this point because I'm seeing, I think it was plus 180, I want to say, on Penny, which I definitely thought about playing. That might have moved since. Let me take a look. No, Kienza by decision, plus 185 on DraftKings. It is plus 150 for that same line on Bet Online. So, again, look at what the smart books are taking, look at what the retail sports books have, and try and exploit them. I think that, that's an exploitable line. And I think on top of that, Pennington by decision, plus 145. That's on BetMGM. That's another
plus 140 on a book I can get is the one I'm looking at.
Well, there you go. And honestly, I would consider if you're really worried about this fight, you could go half and half. You could go one unit on whoever you think's going to win by decision, and then half a unit on whoever you don't think is going to win by decision, and you could probably come out gravy on the other side. If you're like me and you expect this fight to go to decision 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, and I think, man, this is Pennington by decision. Aiden saying is the play. At
That's
plus
what I'm looking at.
135, I think I can't argue with anybody that says that. I'm surprised that they're hanging that figure, honestly, because I do think this is so likely to go to decision. And I think that, Pennington, for all her flaws, she's not the most exciting fighter. She is pretty reliable to come forward. She is pretty durable. She is going to push somebody against the fence. So, maybe she just ragdolls Penny against the fence and I look like a dumbass, but I do think that Pennington's been slowing down a little bit. I do think there's a reason she's been a little inactive. If she looks refreshed and rejuvenated here, she's going to be the side. But just didn't give us a lot to love in her last few performances. Kind of hasn't looked all there, in my opinion. Hasn't looked fully engaged. Doesn't look like she's, all in on the fight, and the interactions with her corner and stuff. It just leaves just a margin of concern in the back of my head that she doesn't want to do this anymore. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the time away will help and probably will. Maybe fighting somebody a little more commensurate with her skill level is going to be beneficial as well, because fighting the elite of the division is probably not as motivating when you're getting smashed. I think that this is a winnable fight for both ladies, and I'm excited to see how it plays out, man. I'd like to see Penny take this step forward and, emerge. She's one of the more fun women to watch in the division. But how often have we seen grindy, control-based fighters hold their spot in a division and thwart off some of the young, fun contenders? I think we could see that here. Either way, whoever it is, maybe target them by decision, keep your exposure small. That's how I would target it.
So when I first saw this fight announced, I was rushing to bet Pennington just because I thought to myself, I'm like, hey, look in the past, I faded Penny against Davis, and there's no way that Davis is better than Pennington, in my opinion. So why want to do it again? And then I look over it again, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just a bit too hard on the Penny girl, because she looks like she's a very talented striker in herself too. And I was. It's just all the fights that you're watching from Pennington, even though they're against the best. I mean, losses against Holm, JDR, Nunes, Holm again, Andrade. Like, okay, that's insane. But like you said, she's slowing down. I mean, okay, she beat Marion Renault last time out. Good for you. She was retiring as well. And it's one of these ones where I know, like, I'm picking my spots. I'm being really smart. I only have, I think, 4 bets in this card so far. I don't want to delay. I don't know if I want to lay that chalk, which it was today at minus 130. I don't know if I want to lay that kind of chalk on someone who may be on their way out. And I do think that, honestly, this is the one play where I probably will add tomorrow. I probably will take a shot on Raquel Pennington if things are going my way. But it's not something that I'm jumping to do right now. I'm going to wait and see where it is. Maybe get some extra plus money. If money comes in on Pennington, maybe I'll just stay out of it.
And you would target it from the money line then?
No. The more I think about it, it will be decision. I don't really see either women getting a finish here.
That's what I'm saying, man. So, like, especially Raquel. Like, if Penny is able to keep it at space the whole time, I think that there's some outside realm of possibility where she gets a finish. I don't see Raquel finishing the fight. Like, maybe a submission, maybe.
No,
I don't think so either.
So
I just wanted to give her something. I was like, could she possibly? No.
Pennington is a fade on DraftKings. Penny is a fade on DraftKings. Do not target this fight on DraftKings. I think that is going to be a greasy split. But I do think that Pennington is a better fighter. It's just what version of her we're going to get. Is she going to be willing to showcase her skills, or is she going to be ready to go on the way out? So you have up-and-coming prospect versus someone who's fought the best of the best. Who we're going to get? I like a fighter who's fought the best of the best. And I'm probably going to add that decision spot on Pennington. But let's move right along. We still got a ton of fights left. And this is one where I'm hitting myself. I don't know if you watched that DraftKings video I made, man, but I have Mike Rodriguez as one of my underdogs this week. And I was recording the video and I hated myself. I was editing it too. I was hating myself for it. I'm like, am I really going to trust this guy with my money again? I mean, I haven't bet him recently, but I've had DraftKings lines with him in it. And it's painful to watch over tape where he makes these mistakes. Funny story though, when he lost to Ed Herman, Mike Rodriguez against Ed Herman, I had a DraftKings lineup and I had a free 25-cent ticket, and I let my girlfriend do a lineup for me. I go, here you go. Here's 25 cents, do a lineup. She picked Ed Herman and I laughed at her. She ended up like one pick away from a takedown, won me some decent money with it. And it was the funniest thing ever because she's like, oh, I'm so smart. I know exactly what's happening. I'm like, no, you got lucky. But no, I think that Mike Rodriguez has Tayfon's coming up a weight class. So you're going to have the size advantage for Mike Rodriguez. He's going to be 6'4", and he struggled against grappler. And I don't really think Tayfon's going to grapple him. And if you're just going to give me a stand-up striking affair, Mike Rodriguez has not looked that bad at striking affairs. He's made mental laps in fights on the ground. And now he's facing someone smaller than him. I don't know, man. Am I crazy? What do you think?
Dude, this fight is honestly one of the hardest for me to get a solid read on the card. And, I want to just point out first and foremost, I think Jung Young Park is like a way better fighter than Mike Rodriguez. So loss is like, just throw it out there.
Park that time.
Me too. Now, That being said, that Jamie Pickett win wasn't altogether that impressive either. In terms of the Tafon side. So like Tafon is kind of hard to get a read on for me. Obviously he starts William Knight on the regional scene. That's like his other like known win. Just hasn't done a tremendous amount of work, hasn't proven a whole lot as far as I'm concerned. Mike Rodriguez, on the other hand, man, has been one of my favorite fades in the UFC. 2 units at plus 200, Danilo Marquez, 1 unit plus 212 at Herman. So, yeah, I got a gift in the Ed Herman fight, but Mike Rodriguez is a fan of giving gifts. Christmas is probably his favorite holiday too. Just be winning a fight and give it away. That's the Mike Rodriguez, foundational flaw and the reason why I didn't bet him yet. I saw plus 110 on Mike Rodriguez, and I was like, man, that seems like a silly line to me. But not tremendously. If I had put down, I probably wouldn't have went down with tremendous exposure. How could you really trust either of these guys with a lot of money? It's hard to say. That being said, man, I think that Mike Rodriguez, he's got some physical advantages in this spot, bigger, taller, longer, but I don't like how he's slow. I don't like how his reaction time's not always great.
I think he's going to be faster.
He slows down and quits. I do too. I do too, for sure. Because Tafon, he could be called slow, but just like, I don't know, man. I've been a little bit concerned at times with Mike Rodriguez's heart and commitment. Just like, obviously it's frustrating if the referee intervenes and whatever and fucks up your fight, but get back to work. Like, just, it was so striking to me that he just like quit on himself in that moment because he didn't get the finish. And tough to support him financially for that reason. I do think that Tafon is going to be making improvements, a lot younger. I think that Tafon overall is probably going to end up winning the fight. That would be my outright prediction. But I do think that, from a betting perspective, it's very tough to lay the juice on Tafon in this spot, given what we know. Hasn't proven a whole lot. But I do think you got to throw out that Jung Young Park fight. And Mike Rodriguez, you'd like to throw out some of those fights. The Danilo Marquez fight, to me, it's just such an indictment, man. Doesn't have good takedown defense. Doesn't have good grappling. Man, I knew Danilo Marquez was going to do that, man. It was one of the only fights where I felt like so confident backing a plus 200 underdog. I should have went more. I knew Danilo Marquez wasn't a great fighter, but I was like, I've seen it now. Mike Rodriguez gets taken down by guys that aren't that great either. He got smashed by Daun Jung. Lost to Devin Clark as well. Not a good fighter. It's not a good fighter. I see what you're saying though, man. Physical advantages, speed in this matchup, finally going to be on his side. Should be able to control the fight at distance. I'm just worried about him getting taken down. Tafon, you don't have to be the most technical guy if you're strong as a fucking ox. And I do think Tafon just could run through him and take him down. And I don't love Mike Rodriguez's fight when he's in a bad position. So that's why I ended up staying away. But, dude, I definitely see it. It's a dogger pass situation in all likelihood.
I went I opened up my app and I was ready to hammer whatever the over was because I'm thinking everyone looks at Tafon and Chikwi. They look at how badly Mike Rodriguez has been finished in the past, and it's going to be great plus money for me. It's not. So I got kind of sad. But I still think there's value there. I think if anything is going to happen in this fight, I don't see Mike Rodriguez putting him away that easily. I do think Tafon's pretty tough. And I don't really see
durable, dude. Just built like a house.
And that's the thing is I don't know like what finish are we going to get? Are we going to get a masterclass overhand right from Tafon just putting Mike Rodriguez to sleep? I don't know. Like I don't see that happening too much either. I think it's going to be honestly, I think it's going to be a boring fight. I think it's going to be a slow-paced striking affair from range, which Mike Rodriguez is going to dictate. So I am looking at the over. I don't have my plus money. I have plus 100 on the over 2.5. So no, thank you. But like I said, I put it out in the video. It's out there in the world. If Tafon starts him, my underdog of the week, or one of my underdogs this week, is going to be Mike Rodriguez. So I'm publicly backing him. I'm ready to take my L if he lets us down one more time. But I am going to be cheering for him. I do not want to place a bet on him because I do not want to have that double exposure because I'm going to have them in DraftKings. But I do think he's live here. Yeah, I'm ready to see him use his length, just as Aiden says here. I think he's going to be able to use his length. He's going to be able to piece him up a bit. I don't know if he's going to finish him because Tafon is tough, but that is what I'm leading with for this fight. And we move right along to one you're dying to talk about because I know you had to justify what you said earlier. We have the highlight reel sensation, Joaquin Buckley, the guy who ninja kicked his way to every single top 10 of the entire world last year, who lost me money, but I couldn't even be mad. Joaquin Buckley facing on Antonio Arroyo. Ooh, Arroyo. Nice. I think this fight's going to be pretty good as well. And I have my opinions on it, but I'm going to let you justify your bet on Joaquin Buckley first.
Okay, I'm going to start by not justifying my bet on Joaquin Buckley. Go bet the other side. Don't bet what I bet. That's the God's honest truth. It's like, okay. I tracked this bet, and it's for the reason I told you. 3 weeks back, the best market price was minus 200 on Joaquin Buckley, and I was like, the public likes Joaquin Buckley. I think that they're going to move this line out in his favor, and I think it might be the DeKirico fight. It might be the fact that DeKirico then lost, to Al Hassan in vicious fashion. But I think that people are kind of off the Buckley train. I expected them to be on it, so I wanted to get in early and give myself an opportunity. I wanted to, I thought that everybody was on board with me in hating Arroyo and thinking he's terrible after that Duran win fight. Now, all of that being said, Arroyo has lost to very good grapplers so far in the UFC. He hasn't done a tremendous amount of striking. We haven't been able to see what his striking could look like when he's not completely exhausted from grappling. All of that being said, I've always thought Arroyo sucked, and I think I bet Muniz against him. I'd have to double check that. I know for sure that I had Arroyo in the Duran win fight because I don't think all that highly of Duran win. I don't believe I took his money line. I'd have to double check. I don't think so, though. I think I just had him inside the distance, plus 365 or something like that, and just looked completely gassed after 5 minutes. And I was like, you embarrassment. I can't believe this. And honestly, just like didn't have answers for wrestling on like a basic level at times during the Duran win fight, man. It was like really concerning. And here's the concern against this Joaquin Buckley fight, though. He's a big, long, tall guy who likes to kick. And we've seen that Joaquin Buckley can get head kicked and slept. So we also saw that, in a fight against a big, long, tall guy like Kevin Holland, he wasn't really able to get his striking game going as well. He likes to throw, some of those wild looping punches. He likes to throw straight as well, but he was having a hard time doing both because he was at a range disadvantage. However, if we are to give some credibility to what I had bet, it's that, Joaquin Buckley, I do think he is the better striker here, by and large. I do think that he has better punching mechanics. I do think that he hits hard, and I think that he is live to flatline Arroyo. Arroyo just has not been knocked out, on his record, and that for me is another concern here because Buckley has been knocked out, and more than once now at the UFC level. So I think that Buckley is probably going to eventually light him up, especially if we see Ahoyo start to slow down. But am I putting it past Ahoyo to come out here and head kick him in the first round? No, I'm not. And how could you? I think if there's one thing, again, to criticize Buckley for, it's that sometimes he just gets overexcited, starts like coming in with his hands down, swinging, talking too much, a little bit of ego. And that's my real concern. Buckley is a little bit of a head case at times, but I think if he fights smart here, he's actually got the reach advantage. And there's a statistically significant advantage if you have a height and reach advantage in fighting. There's actually an inverse relationship if you have a height advantage and no corollary reach advantage. Especially the bigger the height difference, actually the more likely you are to lose if you don't have the reach to go along with it, because that just means that your chin's higher up in the air, and you don't have the ability to keep somebody off you with long limbs like a traditional tall person would be able to, right? That for me is like a little bit of a cause for concern for Ahoyo. He keeps his hands low. He keeps his chin relatively high. I think he could definitely get cracked and punished by Buckley. I do think the UFC likes Buckley. I think they want him to win fights. I think that they gave him to Kiriko as a winning fight. And I thought that he was going to. And bing, bang, boom, it was a really fast result. But again, I do think that Buckley didn't make a horrible account of himself so far in the UFC like Ahoyo has. And so I get why he's the favorite. Just think that the line's a little absurd. So if you're taking a stab on Ahoyo, anything above plus 160, I get it. I do think that minus 155 is fair for Buckley. Minus 150 is probably fair for Buckley. So that's how I feel. I might be crazy though. This is again a fight where I'm saying don't follow me, fade me here or pass the fight completely. But I'm not the biggest DraftKings player. I'm not a DraftKings expert by any means. But I think that this is a fight you want to target for DraftKings because I do think a finish is alive on either side here. And so hopefully my video will come back. But yeah, just I think that either one of these guys can finish. And if Ahoyo has a sneaky ground game when he's not facing high level grapplers, that would be again a concern for me. Some of those guys, the Brazilians, keep the jiu-jitsu in their back pocket, and we haven't seen a tremendous amount from Buckley in a wrestling and grappling context. If there's wrestling and grappling and Buckley can get on top, dude, he's going to justify the price, I think. But that is the only concern for me is what if Ahoyo's got that sneaky submission game or something when he's not facing third degree black belt, who's proven that he's high level.
I think that I had a really tough time with this one, and ultimately my decision was I'm going to pass on it completely. To answer your question, Anthony, or whatever his name is, Arroyo, is sitting there at 6.9K on DraftKings, which is very, very good. And then you have someone like Buckley, who's more expensive than a lot of people. He's sitting at around the same price range as and he's more expensive than Ian Cutelaba, more expensive than Anthony Smith, all that kind of stuff. But the initial thought I had was, okay, Arroyo showing he can be tough, and I do think Buckley's going to win this fight. So maybe the over 1.5 is live, maybe. Then you think about it, Buckley's been knocked out. He's looking at another highlight reel to his count. I don't want to touch that at all. I'm going to stay away from it. I am going to lean.
So there you go. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to stay away from it. I do like your DraftKings opinion on it as well. And I hope for I hope for another highlight reel, man, because honestly, the amount of hype that generated was insane. Because honestly, I don't think Buckley's that good. So if he wants to get another highlight reel knockout, I will fade him next time out 1,000,000%, which is going to be perfect. All right, let's move right along to this one I've seen a lot of opinions on. Nate Maness, 13-1, facing Tony Gravely at 21-6. And that's a name I was missing. Buckley's around the same price tag, or he's more expensive than Tony Gravely. And on DraftKings, I know finishes are important, but so are takedowns. And that's what I think that Gravely's going to have a field day with today. What are your thoughts?
Dude,
you're just loving your dog
at this point, guys. I'm on the underdog here.
What is going on?
Dude, I'm on the underdog here, and the reason being is, again, I play a different style of betting than you, and that should be clear over the course of this conversation for everybody, which isn't to say that one is better or worse. It's just a little different, right? And I like to target fights where I think there's value on the line. So I know going in, I'm going to eat some variance. I'm going to have some spots go against me, and I'm not only trying to pick winners. So if you're just trying to pick winners on any given event, don't tail my plays. That being said, I'm trying to find value. I'm trying to, turn a profit on these events, and I've been doing a decent enough job. But it's normally through targeting underdogs. Big underdogs are my biggest scoring category by far in terms of profit. So I do try and always look dog first, in my opinion. That being said, this fight was a fight where Tony Gravely, I'll just mention a brief anecdote. First fight I ever saw in person, he was the main event. So Tony Gravely's been around, and that was at King of the Cage. So, I went to a King of the Cage event. He lost to Patchy Mix in the very first round via guillotine choke, guys. And Tony Gravely's a talented fighter. He's been talented on the regional scene. He's, demonstrated his abilities and skills so far in the UFC. With that being said, he's been the same guy for a long time. He's got this skill set. He can wrestle. He can come forward. He has good takedowns. He has somewhat decent control. He can wing overhand shots. He's not a terrible striker either. Not the most comfortable striker, but can throw some strikes in volume. He's not going to just give a fight away watching somebody. He acts, and that's why a lot of people like him. He takes initiative. He is a fighter that comes out and does things. He's not going to stand around. He's not Sam Alvey, right? He's not going to be making you scream at the television, do something, But I also think that Nate Maness, you look at this guy, he's been in control positions where his opponent's in control for a lot of his UFC fights, and he's winning anyway, right? And the reason being is because he doesn't let people just hang out. He tries to punish people for taking attempts. He'll punch to the body. He'll try and land strikes as people are pursuing takedowns. He's pretty good at staying up, getting back up if he gets taken down, making people work when they're wrestling. Tony Gravely just puts his head in the hole, man. Like I like guillotines, right? In terms of grappling, it's my favorite move. And so I'm always looking for, opportunities to do it. You got to get somebody's head in the hole. You have to get somebody to stick their head and their neck out away from the rest of their body. The further it is away from their shoulders and the more torque you can put on it, the worse it can be for them. And the more you can shove their head down and get on top, even if you don't finish the choke. Nate Maness has a dangerous guillotine choke. Tony Gravely puts himself into the guillotine all the time. For that alone, I think that a Maness by sub prop, I forget what it was. I think it's plus 500. I'm going to double check that. Maness by sub, excuse me. No, it's plus 1,100. You can get on BetMGM is by sub. So that's something that I'm probably going to look at this. And on top of that, let's say that Maness, who I don't think is a bad wrestler, I think he's sitting at like 80-something% takedown defense through 2 UFC fights. Not against elite level grapplers, obviously, but Luke Sanders is no slouch. Like, yeah, he retired, but I said it the other day on my stream. Luke Sanders wins a lot of minutes, just doesn't win all the fights. He's a tough guy to look good against. And Nate Maness was able to stay in there, absorb some big shots, land some big shots, and find the finish. Tony Gravely, if I could, again, point out something that I think is just a little concerning is sometimes he stays in the pocket. Sometimes he stays there throwing. Sometimes he'll throw 3-4 big shots in a row. And, Nate Maness, he doesn't have the most tremendous one-hitter quitter type power. He's just accurate. He's a puncher that throws accurate straight punches and places them on the face. And, I think that he could definitely chin check Tony Gravely over the course of this fight. I think he can definitely make this more competitive than people expect. I do think Gravely's probably going to get some takedowns here. Can he get significant control time? I don't know. I don't think Maness is just going to concede to being on his back either. I think he's a fighter that knows where he needs to be. He's going to try and get back to his feet. He's going to try and punish you for the attempts. He's going to, do damage in every position. The fight that people thought he lost, I think he did outland him on total strikes, not on significant strikes. And it's because Nate Maness doesn't stop. When he's in a grappling position, he keeps striking. And I do like guys like that. So I think that Nate Maness, he's one of the better fighters on this slate that's going to be a plus 180 underdog. And I'm looking right now, best available market price is plus 185 on 5 dimes. He's also as low as plus 158 on Bet Rivers and Unibet. So, this is a fight where I think smart actions come in on both sides. I do think that, Tony Gravely, anything under minus 165, I get it. But I do think, again, I look for hinge points. I look for points where the bet stops making sense. And, I think above minus 175, you're really putting some stake in Tony Gravely when he had competitive minutes with Geraldo de Freitas. Who is that? Everybody's asking themselves right now, who doesn't watch this shit every week. And yeah, Geraldo de Freitas isn't that great a fighter, but because he had a decent enough submission game, he was able to keep, he was able to keep him guessing. So, man, this is an interesting enough fight for me, and I'm gonna have to go ahead and put my backing on the Nate Maness side. I obviously picked Tony Gravely here outright, but I think that Maness is the value side, at least in my opinion.
If you're crazy enough to bet JP Bays, you can be crazy enough to bet Nate Maness. No, I'm just messing with you. I do like all your points thrown out there, and just give a quick shout out here. I think that I appreciate Aiden for throwing some great points there, and he's with you. And I've agreed with everything Aiden said except for this one. I'm not that high on Nate Maness. I'll tell you that right now for a fact. I think that the main reason Nate Maness is going to have some potential in this fight is not because he's that good of a fighter, just because he's going to probably outlast Gravely. I'm not a fan of Gravely's cardio. I'm not a fan of his tendencies because he's a risky fighter. He goes for everything. He puts everything out there. So I think
Gravely 1-3 sub. Book it.
That's a sprinkle you should have right there, man. I think that Gravely's a better fighter in a 1-round fight and a 2-round fight. I like Gravely's potential, and I think he's a better fighter, but I'm not betting him for that reason alone. Is because I don't know what I'm going to get from him. I don't know if he's going to be able to go out there for 3 rounds, and the way he wins his fight is on the ground. I don't know if he's be able to keep it there on the ground, and whether that storm, like you say, that Maness is going to bring on the ground. So I think it's a very interesting one. I'm going to pick Gravely to win. I think on DraftKings because I don't think Maness's takedown defense is all that good. I mean, he's got good stats. And I think that it's okay, but I think that Gravely will be able to get him down quite easily. I think that you're gonna keep piling up those takedowns, piling up those DraftKings points, and I like him here. But I will not be betting him. I honestly would probably bet the round 3 sprinkle on Maness before betting Tony Gravely at -220. So I'm going to stay away from it.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with Aiden too. He's saying I'm not like all that high on Maness. I just think he's better than Gravely. And man, I would kind of agree. Like I do think that Nate is getting better, like fight over fight. I do think he's improving. And I made that point, but I really feel it. I've seen it borne out a few times. It's just that where is Tony Gravely getting better between these fights? Like what skill set is he improving? He's just the same guy he was on the regionals. And if it works, awesome. And if it doesn't work, we'll run it back again and do it all the same way. So that's the only concern here, man. It's just like a big favorite that's got a predictable game plan too. Like I think Nate Maness isn't fully aware that he's going to try and grapple F him the whole time. I think that that's always a fighter that's easier to game plan for as well, in my opinion. That being said, if it's +150, I'm not playing Nate in this spot. But I got in for 0.8 units at +162, and I added 0.2 units when it hit +170. I added 0.2 units when it hit +180. So I'm going to hold at 1.2 units, Nate Maness, and average of like +170. I'll take it.
Respect, man. I think that he definitely has path to victory here. But again, I'm going to stand by the point that I do think Gravely is
maybe 0.3 on sub +1100. Or maybe 0.2 on sub +1100, 0.1 on round 3 sub. Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. Well, I do definitely respect that. But next up on the list, we got 4 fights left. And this one is one that, speak of big favorites. And I know you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unit parlay on this one. Wow. That's a lot of units, my friend. Tell me about Arman Tsarukyan while I plug my lamp in.
Absolutely. You got it, my friend. Yeah, this is a fight, overall I have 10 units of exposure on Arman in this fight. I have a 2-unit parlay with Arman parlayed up with, Jessica Andrade in the Cynthia Calvillo fight. So that was Arman at -600, Andrade -275, 2 units at -169 total. So I'm pretty excited about that parlay, -600 on Arman. Right now, the best market price on Arman is -750. On the smartest books, he's -1,000. And his average price is -813 for Arman. So I bet him again in an 8-unit parlay at, that was -650 I got on Arman. minus 375 on Mo Miller, who absolutely steamrolled Brandon Lewis at Dana White's Contender Series. If you guys
But
watched
didn't
that.
get a contract.
But did not get the contract, which was some BS, but also going to be better for his career long-term, in my opinion. And then I got Valentina at minus 1,200 to close out that parlay. So that's 8 units at minus 171. So 2 parlays around the same price, both with exposure to Arman. But I think Arman is just a significantly better fighter. And I say that as somebody who's, made some money backing Christos Giagos in the past. I backed him in that Soriano fight. And I backed him to win by submission there. So Giagos, I do think when he is the better grappler, when he's the better wrestler in a matchup, he could definitely win. But I think when he's not the better wrestler, when he's not the better grappler, he's fucked because he gets tired pretty fast. He's like not the most technical guy. A lot of what he does relies on strength, athleticism. You know what I'm talking about? It's not so much a technical game plan that we always see from him. And so, I think that Giagos, unless he's able to get something going early, sting him on the feet and catch a submission, I think Giagos is going to be in a really tough fight, man. I think Arman's pace is going to bury him. I think that Arman is going to be able to outwork him in the grappling. I think that he's going to be faster and more technical in the grappling transitions. I think that Arman's chance to finish this fight is the best that he's had. Of any of his fights in the UFC. This is a guy who has a takedown against Islam Makhachev. This is a guy who has a takedown against Davi Ramos, ADCC world champion. So it's like we're saying, at minus 650. That's generous. That really is. Like I think that Arman is going to run away with this one. I think that the UFC is trying to put him in a showcase spot. If we go back and briefly just look at the career of Giagos for 1 second, just look at who he's lost to. Lost to Jakar Close, gets taken down twice. Lost to Charles Oliveira, gets submitted in the second round. Lost in ACB fight to Shamil Nikayev. Then he loses to Josh Emmett, gets knocked out. Loses to Chris Wade at UFC Fight Night 68, gets out-wrestled, out-grappled, taken down 4 times by Chris Wade. So Giagos was saying in interviews, I know I'm going to get taken down in this fight. It's about getting back up. I don't think he's going to have the cardio to do that. I really hope he does that because in terms of prize pick selections for me, I am on the over 3.5 takedowns for Arman Tsarukyan as well. The guy, when he's going for takedowns, he gets them, period, against anybody, even good guys. I think Arman's going to run through him here. And let's hope for the best. I just really think that this is a, slam dunk type of fight. Arman minus 850 to me is like pretty fair. Honestly, like I feel like now the line is like accurate, minus 1,000, minus 850. That seems about right.
The thing is, sorry, I'm going to keep this really, really short. Christian Giagos has relatively no path to victory here. And that's the end of the story. Arman's a massive favorite, but that's exactly it.
Arman sub 3. That's the only other thing I would add is I do think Giagos is a tough enough guy, but Giagos probably going to be completely spent by round 2. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. The thing is, the only I want some exposure in this way because I think Arman's going to run through him. It's just I don't want to lay chalk that much, even though I do think it's justified because he's better at every single aspect of the game. But when you can cut down a minus 750 favorite to plus 150 just for him to finish against a guy who tires out if he grapples, I don't mind that. I might put a half unit or so on that for Arman to finish because I do think that he is the way better fight in every single aspect of the game, and Giagos does tire. So the most likely outcome is probably a decision win, but I would not be surprised if he finishes him here. And I think at plus 165 we can get us some places. It's worth a shot. You're muted, my friend.
Makes sense to me, my brother.
There you go. All right. I think we don't waste more time. I respect your spot. I think he runs right through him. Let's move right on. 3 fights left. We have the undefeated 7-0 Mandy Bohm going against the 13-7 Ariane Lipski. And let me just say, I'm going to keep this one short as well. I have no play on this, but I am a Lipski hater. Let's just say that. I don't think I'm not a big fan of her skill set. She made Antonina Shevchenko look like a grappling god. Yes, goddess. Queen of Violence, great, proud of you. I don't know if I'm be betting Mandy Bone, but I'm close to because because a complete fade of Ariane Lipski. I know she's faced a better level of competition, but
Yep.
I do think that she's not the best fighter. What would you like to say about this one?
Very little. So I'm going to be brief on this one. I don't have a tremendous opinion. I didn't research this enough to, have a very strong opinion. Mandy Bone, I haven't watched her fights, right? Very few. I think I watched like one of her fights, the more recent one. I'm not impressed by the level of competition she's faced. But I'll also just tell you, I don't know how it's plus EV to back Lipski at chalk. It's
Yeah,
possible
no.
in this spot because she's got, like a setup type matchup here. And I do believe she trains at ATT. This is going to be her second fight there, as far as I recall. So that should be a bit of a difference maker for her, I hope, because I don't think that Lipski's like a horrible fighter. I think that, she can't keep the fight upright. She doesn't have great answers or body language from her back. So I'm just like, I'm not going to lay the chalk there until I see the improvements. And, I'm also not going to lay, my hard-earned money on Bone, not knowing a tremendous amount about her. So this was an easy pass spot for me. If I watch some Bone tape tonight and she blows my hair back or something, maybe I'll get involved. I think I predicted Lipski decision in this spot. I don't have very high hopes for this fight, broadly speaking. So let's hope that there's a crazy knee bar or something to write home about, but I'm not expecting it here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a very big fan of Aaron Lipski, as I said already. And you look at someone in Mandy Bohm who was supposed to fight Taylor Santos, who was supposed to fight Liz Caramouche over in Bellator. I mean, people have high hopes for her, and she's undefeated. She has a win in Bellator, even though she's a massive favorite there, and rightfully so. She doesn't face the highest level of competition, but the problem is, I don't think Lipski is that high level of competition. I think she makes a lot of mistakes. I don't see her getting a nasty knee bar. I just think it's one of these ones where I'm not spending chalk for Lipski, and maybe I take some bone. I don't know. It's another one of these fights where I'm not really interested in. I'm just gonna sit back. And honestly, maybe the best case scenario is Lipski looks like a goddess and we get to fade her next time out. Maybe that's the way to go. But I'm going to edge bone. If I get, I think what was my line I wrote down? I think if I said I got plus 115 on bone, I'd pull the trigger, which I'm definitely not going to get. I mean, you can get plus 110. Ooh, oh well. Anyways, that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to move right along. We're going to skip past that one to one that's much more exciting, especially for my DraftKings aura. You have someone in Ion Kutalaba who not only is looking absolutely jacked. I don't know I don't know what he's on, but he's on something. He looks like a completely different person who just shoots out of the first round like an absolute cannon, and then he dies off a bit after. Against someone in Devin Clark, who has lost in the first round multiple times before in the UFC, and who all around I do not think is that great of a fighter. Do we sprinkle round one? I know a bit further up here, I saw Payne come into the chat and say something about that round one. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this one?
I would tell you that Kutalaba submission at plus 2,600 on DraftKings seems a little absurd. I have not touched that, but I will consider doing so. And I'm looking right now, Clark by decision plus 260 on DraftKings. I think that is how he wins this fight, if he wins this fight. So to get him from plus 130 to plus 260, doubling up, that seems to me like a value spot if you're going to look at Devin Clark. I'm not going to look at Devin Clark. I've never been impressed by him in the UFC. I put some money against him before. I don't like how he reacts to punches. I don't like how uncomfortable he is on the feet. I don't like how he wings shots from far away. I don't like how his wrestling seems utterly disconnected from his striking. So I don't like Devin Clark's game. I think he's an undersized 205-pounder. I think Iwan Kutalaba, look what Dustin Jacoby just did. That fight aged a lot better than people thought it would have, in my opinion. Jacoby is a fucking brick. Like, he's just so hard to put away. really durable. And I think that, most guys don't stand up to that pressure. Ask Khalil Roundtree, when he got put under that pressure, he was like, F this sucks. Like he just wanted to cover up and get out of there. You could see the look change on Khalil. He like tried to do like one of those little half smile and reset, and Ewan's still like in his face, winging punches with that dead man look on his eye. And Khalil was like, yeah, no, I don't want this. Like, he's like, I thought I was going to be able to reset here, and now I can't. And he just folded up. I think we see the same thing from Devin Clark here, man. I think he's going to get absolutely rammed through by Cutelaba here. But that being said, how do you back Cutelaba on the money line based on what we've seen from him? He does spend it all in 7 minutes. He just does. Like he's for good or for ill, like he's going to try and finish for 7 minutes. Now, what I will say is the Jacoby fight, I also thought that he was doing a pretty decent job recovering by that third round. He looked spent in round 2. And while he didn't win the third round, or while it was a very close round, that's something that Cutelaba hasn't always shown. He's normally like falling off of a cliff. And I did think that it was a little bit less exaggerated in his last fight. And now this guy is just like looking in phenomenal condition. Not going to have a tremendous amount of exposure here, guys, but I may end up with a sprinkle on Cutelaba sub. I may end up with a sprinkle on Cutelaba round 1. And that's how I'm feeling about it for now. Not the strongest, conviction behind that prop play because I just want to do a little price comparison. But yeah, I feel like this is a very binary fight. Cutelaba should win this fight early. We've seen Devin Clark, even in the Ryan Spann fight, his wrestling gets panicky when he's put under pressure. And that could definitely get him submitted. I don't think we've ever seen Cutelaba get a real, like, normal-looking submission. He's normally just winging crazy punches. And that's the only thing that puts me off making the bet, because I do like to back guys by submission that actually attempt them from time to time. Like Derek Brunson, nobody credits his jiu-jitsu, but he does attempt submissions from time to time. Like the Kevin Holland fight, I had Brunson by sub at plus 1450. And, he didn't get the sub, but that was a value play. He had a head and arm check for 2 minutes. So I think that, Cutelaba just doesn't attempt subs as much as I want for that sub prop. So if I do go, it's probably going to be 0.2 units or smaller. But, Cutelaba round 1, I do think is probably a plus EV play.
Hey, man. Whoa. Hey, man. Yeah, by the time if you keep coming on the show, you're going to be turned into a full DraftKings player, because this is what we call the definition of a GPP play. This is exactly the type of guy who's going to go big or he's going to go home. He's going to win you in that first round, or he's probably going to lose a decision or later on. And that's exactly what we look for, because we want those early finishes. We want those first round finishes. And that's what I think I'm going to see. I think I'm going to be super high owned on him, because I do think he's able to get Devin Clark out of there early. The problem is I do not have that good enough line to bet him normally. I don't like, what is his line to finish? Minus 105? Like there's just stuff that it doesn't look appealing. Kuzlov inside distance minus 110. Oh, no, plus 105 on my books. So, like, still, that's like, if I'm choosing someone to finish, I don't want that much, right? So, I'm probably going to pass on this fight and just enjoy it. And hopefully I see Hulk smash. I mean, we didn't see the green face paint, but we saw an absolutely ripped Ian Cutelaba, and I hope he shoots out of a cannon on Saturday and gets us a first-round finish and gets us a high score on DraftKings. Yeah. I think that covers it all. It's going to be him early, or probably Devin Clark, if he endures a storm, probably can beat a gassed-out Ian Cutelaba later.
I don't think he'll finish, though, dude. Devin Clark's not a finisher. Like, I think that Devin Clark will just hold on for a decision. Yeah, exactly. Which, dude, I don't know, man. I actually have a hard time seeing Devin Clark out wrestle Cutelaba for the first 7.5 minutes either. So, which is why I think he's so fucked. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think Cutelaba with the power. Like, we've seen Devin Clark get out-wrestled by effing Anthony Smith. I don't want to hear about how he's got a wrestling background and whatever. So what? Like, he's an undersized 205 is all I mean. Like, Anthony Smith isn't blasting through people with, body lock takedowns. It's just that I've never seen that before. And he literally was like, oh, F this. After one punch from Devin Clark, he was like, I'm just taking this guy down. Like, it just seemed to me like such a mismatched spot there,
I am. You know what? Let's transition right in because Anthony Smith is someone I really want
Perfect.
to talk about. He's the main event, and he's me facing someone in Ryan Spann who I'm not that big on. I mean, it's a 205 fight. Anthony Smith has been around for forever, even though he's still a young man. And I think I'm a lot higher on him than a lot of people are. I know I see all this stuff about takedown defense and takedowns, but I think that the Anthony Smith we saw last time out in terms of his striking and his IQ, and I'm not going to say his performance last time out was anything to look forward to because he did get taken down by a guy with one leg. I mean, that's not something you really want to see. I do think that Smith has all the tools to beat Ryan Spann. I'm not a fan of Ryan Spann. Who has Ryan Spann beat? I mean, he beat Misha Serkinov with. I mean, good for you. I bet you. My dad could do that as well. You guys had a glass chin.
I bet
But
Misha Serkinov there, and it's one of the biggest single regrets of my betting life. I literally, as soon as they're walking out, I was like, why did I do this? I had already bet on the under, and I was like, that's such a good play. And then I was like, you know what? Serkinov's going to submit him. Fuck it.
Yep, and look what happened. See, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Spann, and I think he's got the easiest path to being number 10 in the world. I think that's what he is right now. And good for you. I mean, you did a great job. Your manager did a great job getting you these fights you can win. But I think Anthony Smith is better than Ryan Spann here. What is Ryan Spann going to do? Shoot blast doubles and wrestle him for 3 rounds? I don't think he's the cardio to do that. I think that Anthony Smith, at the end of the day, is going to be able to stuff a few takedowns. He'd be able to piece him up on the feet. And I just think that Anthony Smith is going to put him away in those later rounds. And I see you put your hand up, and I know you're going to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm ready.
I'm going to tell you 5 rounds. You said 3.
5 rounds.
He's got 5 rounds. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I've seen a round 4 or 5 finish. I mean, I think that Ryan Spann is a good can crusher. Good for you. You're Superman Spann. But I don't think he's that good of a fighter against the top 10 in the division. I think that he loses a lot of those fights. And I think that Anthony Smith is getting a lot of hate. I mean, this is a guy that people think could have beaten John Jones. Ryan Spann is not John Jones. And I'm not saying he is. But I just think it's going to be a lot harder for Ryan Spann to execute his game plan on Anthony Smith this weekend than a lot of people are making it up to be. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, dude, this is the fight that I probably ended up looking into the most overall this week. No surprises, the main event. I wrote a preview article for Roto Grinders, so you guys can check that out. I'll be putting that on my Twitter, of course, at LiamPicksFights. But, you know, my play on this fight was simple, guys, and I'm going to lead with my bet, and then I'm going to talk about what the rationale is and basically the ways I see this fight playing out. I bet this fight does not go to decision. 3.1 units at -260. So it's a chalky figure, but, you know, I could give you a pretty clear rationale for why. By and large, you look at these guys' fights, about 20% of them have gone to the 3rd round between the two of them, like the 3rd round of any kind. And even then, both of them, wins, losses, indifferent, they get finished. Like, finished or be finished. That is the mantra for both of these guys, you know, and obviously Anthony Smith, I think, has had, you know, maybe 4 fights out of 16, I want to say, go to decision in the UFC. So even in the UFC, he's only batting 25%. And, you know, that's against some of the better guys in the division. You know, Anthony Smith, his last 2 times out, he was given the younger surging contender who's got a lot less experience. Bro, Anthony Smith has 51 fucking fights. Like, just stop sleeping on this man. Like, he's got 51 professional bouts. I know that Anthony Smith isn't perfect at anything. You know, he's not the world's best anything, but he's got 51 pro fights. Like, he's just done it all, been there for everything. And, you know, I think that people oftentimes don't look at fighters for the people they are, for the personality. And Anthony Smith went through, like, immeasurable personal tragedy, like where he gets somebody break into his house, and then he's supposed to be expected to just go back to work at his cage fighting profession when he's getting in fist fights in his own house at 2 a.m. with intruders and is having a hard time because he can't see and he's trying to protect his family. And that's a lot on your mental. So he comes back and looks like shit and gets beat up by Glover Teixeira, and honestly looked fantastic, except spent all his energy early, right? And Anthony Smith has done that before, but we've also seen that Anthony Smith at his best can be measured. He can be a lot more calm, patient, and, you know, thoughtful with his fighting. I think that's what we've seen in his last 2 fights. The Devin Clark fight, There's one punching exchange, and he goes, F this. I'm taking this guy down. I'm way better on the ground. Takes him down, moving with him, feeling it out. I honestly believe Anthony Smith was like, yo, let me put myself underneath and just get this over with. Because he like allows a transition. Devin Clark comes on top and he submits him with a triangle. Like then. Like there's no pause, no delay. He's like, hey, come on top and thank you. And then the fight's over, right? So Devin Clark, obviously not the most impressive guy. Okay. Jim Crute. Jim Crute's good. I don't care what anybody says. That guy's a good fighter. One leg or not, Jim Crute is a fucking powerhouse, and he can run through somebody, take them off their feet, elevate, slam. He's a beast, and he's kind of like insanely tough and durable. You know how many guys quit when their leg starts to fall apart? Most of them. We've seen it, right? Like they're like, I can't stand, I can't walk. Like they get it. This guy is yelling at the officials like, no, I'm fine, trying to walk on it, trying to like grin and bear it. And he's like, yes, I can go, like holding himself up with the cage, ready to sprint out there. That's the guy who he just beat, right? Jim Crute, who I respect big time. So what's up? You got something?
No, I just want to point out, you're talking about beating Jim Crute, and you forgot to mention that someone here and the guy he's facing almost lost to Sam Alvey. And
dude,
this man's
I
on
was going to bring that up too,
streak.
which is I have been fooled by Sam Alvey thinking he was good because of his fights at light heavyweight. And, you know, I think that several red flags on the Ryan Spann side. He is chinny. Like, I don't know another way to say it. He doesn't get knocked down very often, and you could credit him for that. But he does show wear. He does show damage. Like, he does wobble on his feet with some regularity. The Johnny Walker fight, dude, it's a travesty that he didn't win that fight. Now, granted, I have been on the not betting on Ryan Spann train for a little while here. I bet against him with Misha Serkinov, cost me some bills. Bet against him with Johnny Walker at minus 130. Got me some paper. So, you know, I think that Johnny Walker fight for me is like the indictment of Spann. It's like when he was doing well, he was landing his punches. But when he was landing his punches, he was not safe from getting hit by the returns. He gets hit by returns. He just like throws punches and hangs his hands down sometimes. He doesn't always bring his guard back. His footwork is horrible. Like, I've seen more than one time. He walks somebody towards the fence, corrals them into the fence, and goes, never mind, and just walks back to the middle. Like, no, doesn't punish them for backing onto the fence, doesn't throw anything at them, nothing. Just like watches it happen and then retreats. And he did it more than one time. I forget, I was watching, which fight was it earlier? It wasn't the Alvey fight. It was the Walker fight, I want to say, where he's walking Johnny down and like, oh no, you know what it was, dude? It was the Devin Clark fight. The Devin Clark fight was the one that was just so egregious. He's walking Devin Clark back. Devin Clark's not a good striker. Like, not good, winging crazy shots. First of all, he gets hit by some of the crazy winging shots from Devin Clark. He doesn't feel comfortable with him on the feet. Anthony Smith looked calm and composed and poised on the feet against Jimmy Crute. Here's my concern on the Anthony Smith side, because I do want to temper expectations. Anthony Smith is a good fighter, but he can get finished. He can get out-wrestled. I just expect him to have better cardio here. I expect that Anthony Smith is actually the more technical striker on the feet, and I think that will be borne out. He doesn't have the same range and the same size here. I'm worried about him getting size bullied. He's not a big 205er, but he's not a tiny 205er either. Jim Crute is a big 205er, not in terms of frame, but in terms of weight, size, and mass. So when he's taking Anthony down, you know, I kind of get it. Jim Crute, I think, is a more technical wrestler than Ryan Spann is as well. But I'll also say this, man. Anthony Smith in that fight gets kicked in the leg a few times, and he was outboxing Jimmy Crute badly, busting him up with the jab badly. And I think that if Anthony Smith works behind a jab well in this fight, he could make it look a lot easier. But, dude, he got hit with a couple of those leg kicks, and he's so calm out there. He's in his 51st or whatever fight. He's looking, pointing, laughing at Jim Crute, and he's saying, you want to keep doing that? Like, he's like, they have this, like, series of exchanges where Jimmy Crute kicks him in the leg. He goes, really? Like, looks at him, really? And then he does it again. Really? Third time, he answers back, leg kicks him twice, and the fight is over, ladies and gentlemen. So all I'm saying is Anthony Smith, when he was like, oh, we're throwing leg kicks now, he put him away with 2 leg kicks. Go back and watch. He kicks him once, And Jim Crute goes, oh, shit, that was horrible. Steps back, steps into range, kicks him again, he falls over. So, like, Anthony Smith is no clown on the feet. He's shown now that if you give him a raw light heavyweight contender who's not up to snuff on the ground, he's going to dispatch them on the ground. I think Anthony Smith is the side in this fight. I can see why people are playing the Ryan Spann side. Anthony Smith has been dinked on the chin. Yeah, for sure. He's got a 1.2% knockdown rate against him. So Anthony Smith, has been finished. He got body kicked and finished by Thiago Santos as well. But when's the last time you've seen him get chin checked in the UFC? I can't even remember it, dude. Like, Anthony Smith doesn't really get hurt, doesn't really get wobbled all that often. He got his
Lionheart for a reason.
Knocked out of his face by Glover Teixeira, and he's just picking him up and holding him for later. Like, the guy is a different level of tough. So unless Ryan Spann deads him early with punches, I think it's a really tricky matchup for him. I think that Anthony Smith sub 2 is what I predicted, because I do think that Anthony Smith is the more adept ground player here. I think that Anthony Smith, if he's able to create wrestling exchanges, is probably going to fare okay. I think that if Anthony Smith is getting taken down in the first 2 rounds, he will have the toughness, heart, and durability to stay in the fight. And Ryan Spann has shown a propensity to gas. He's shown a propensity to eat heavy shots. In the fights he wins, he eats heavy shots. In the fights he loses, he eats heavy shots. And I think especially, man, what could be his downfall in this matchup is when he panics, he shoots, man. When he panics, he shoots. He wrestles. And Anthony's not, a bum. Like, he's not going to just stand there with 2 feet stationary against the cage. He's going to make a wide base. And I don't think Ryan Spann has the best takedown game. I don't think it's the most athletic takedown game. And so I do think he's probably going to hang his head out there and get elbowed into oblivion or submitted against the cage after, it's like his quit position. I don't mean to be rude, but it's like it's happened to him more than one time. Saif Saud freaks the hell out anytime because he doesn't shoot a traditional double, right? A lot of guys like to shoot a double with their head, neck, and chest up, press him into the cage, lock it up, bounce him off the cage, pull him back, right? That's just not what he does. He shoots lower doubles. So he's like on his knees, like wrapping their 2 legs together, trying to pull it in. He was able to get, the legs pulled in on Johnny Walker more than once and still couldn't take him down. Like, Johnny Walker is still just like pushing his head down further, obviously just clubbing him to the back of the head. But that's what this is. Like, if you hang your head just right out here, nothing above it, why wouldn't I smash it? It's like, it's wrong, but it's the fight business. I'm sorry. People are going to take advantage if you just hang your head in somebody's crotch. And that's what that was actually his defense after the fight. He said, my head was in his crotch. All right, man. That's just not safety. That's not going to be safety against Anthony Smith either. I like Anthony in this spot. Haven't bet him on the money line, but I think that this is just such a fight that is swayed towards a finish, because you've got Spann with a lot of finishing potential early, and you've got Anthony Smith who's shown he can finish early, he can finish mid, he can finish late. He can come back and win a fight that he's losing and finish. He's had 10% of 51 career fights go to decision. This is probably going to end inside the distance. I like Anthony Smith to find a finish somewhere between rounds 2 and 4, depending on where Spann gets tired. I do expect Spann to show up in better shape than he has. I do expect him to take this opportunity seriously. I think he's a hard worker. I don't think he's a terrible fighter, but I don't think he's clean and technical on the feet. I don't think he's a perfect wrestler who's going to have a lot of control positions here. And I don't think that his grappling is sound enough to avoid, the submission returns from Anthony Smith, should he try and control this fight from a grappling perspective the whole time. My concern is going to be if we see Anthony Smith in turtle for minutes at a time, which we have seen in the past. It's his worst habit. Hanging out in turtle is a terrible idea. There's no positive benefit to it. So I want to see Anthony Smith fight smart here, but I do think that he kind of gets underlooked, man. He's like everybody's least favorite light heavyweight contender. And I think Anthony Smith is just a little bit better than people give him credit for. But the wheels are going to fall off the bus at some point soon. He's been fighting for a really long time, a lot of professional fights, not the greatest athlete. And that is the difference here, is I do think Ryan Spann is a D1 athlete. I think he's like a top-class athletic threat here. Anthony Smith is not that, but I do think he's the better and more seasoned fighter. And ultimately, I think that's what's going to decide it.
Very, very, very well said, my friend. And you know what? I agree with a lot. But the big thing is, I've been high on Anthony Smith for a while. He's one of my favorite fighters, and I do think he's a really smart guy and able to put a lot of his skills to use. And the thing here is, my answer to betting this fight could be really, really simple. I bet Anthony Smith against Jimmy Crute. Why would I not bet him against Ryan Spann? And that is my thought process. Only decision I
I
made
bet
is, do I
Johnny
want to lay
Walker and
chalk?
Misha Serkinov against him, so that's why I'm like,
Yeah,
how do I not have an Anthony Smith ticket right now?
exactly. And the thing is, do I want to lay that? Like, do I want to lay chalk? Do I want to put multiple units on it? Do I want to parlay him? Not really. So, do I take him to finish? Because I do think he's going to finish. You can get that plus money.
Plus 110.
So that's what I'm looking at. I think that's going to be my play, and that is going to wrap up our breakdown. 2 hours of UFC content on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'd like to thank everybody for putting through with us. For getting through, listening to some fights. And you know what? There's a lot of money to be made this weekend. As always, I know you're not a big DraftKings guy. I will be posting my DraftKings lineups. All you got to do, like a tweet, DM me. We'll get her going because money is there to be made. I posted a video 2 days ago. Make sure you like that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and that's all good. All right. Before I let you sign off, before I let you plug your things, I'd like you to go over all your bets for me if you can.
Absolutely, my brother. So I'm going to run you through what I've got on this card. I'm going to try and totalize it just to make it simple because I have 0.2 on the same wager across different odds. So overall, running through it real quick, I got 0.47 units down on Panny Kianzad plus 115. That line's gone. Wouldn't follow me on the money line anymore. I would, if you're going to play Panny, consider her decision line, consider the decision line on the other side. I've got Nate Maness against Tony Gravely. Don't think that Nate should be priced above a plus 165 favorite, so I'm going to have to play him there. I got 1.2 units between plus 162 and plus 180. I have Joaquin Buckley, 2 units, minus 200. Fade me. Go play the other side. Try and make yourself some money on Ahoyo. At least one of us will cash if you do that. JP Bays, I'm probably the only person in America that has this ticket. It seems like everybody's against me, and that's just fine. I like to ride on some of these solo underdog shots. Underdogs still win. 20% of the time is still 1 in every 5 times that something happens. It's like, math is math. I think that this, might just be mispricing what JP Bay's chance of winning is here. I don't think he should be the favorite, but when I put out my predictions, I said, I think that we're going to have Montel by decision. I bet on the other side. I got 0.4 units of exposure, JP Bays plus 440. On my tracker, it's 0.21 units at plus 375. I already cashed out that play because why would I keep it when plus 440 is available? So cash that out, got my money back, hit plus 440 instead. And, now I got 0.4 units at plus 440. Let's get rich, kids. Last 2 plays for me. I got 1.05 units, highly Alatang at minus 105. Again, lines long gone, minus 131 average odds. If you want to get in on these plays with me, you got to follow me on Twitter. I normally release my plays as I make them. And if not as I make them, I put out, constantly upcoming slates of action for me. I try and get down events, several in advance at times, and not always because I'm doing the tape early, just because I like to, predict how these lines are going to move and get in early. So was able to, spot some closing line value on Alatang. Happy about that. Last play of the night for me, 0.55 units. Brandon Jenkins plus 270. Once again, closing line value, ladies and gentlemen, because that's down to plus 248, best available market wide. Good luck to everybody if you're going to be tailing me. You can always find all the work that I'm doing at LiamPicksFights. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at LiamPicksFights, and you can find the work that I'm doing as well. Delphi Sports. I write for Roto Grinders. So if you ever want to check out their content and coverage, you'll see me there on the MMA side as well. So really excited for UFC 266, man, and that's what I'm going to be turning my attention to coming up. But I'm so glad that you had me on to discuss, and I think that we got a pretty solid lineup here, and hopefully we're able to give some winners to the people. But if not, hopefully people can take the dialogue, the conversation, and form your own opinions. Whether you follow, whether you fade, it is me, Gordo, and all you guys, good guys like us, against those bookies and never met one with a part-time job. So we're trying to take a little paper out of their pocket, and we're trying to get something going here. I feel pretty good about the spots we got this weekend.
Hey man, I respect them. I respect them. You know, maybe the JP Bays one a little bit less, but I still respect them all.
When
No,
JP
for
Bays gets
me,
that freaking third round submission and everybody's freaking out, just know Liam will be going
I'm
Sizzler.
I'm telling you, man. If you think that's true, put in a DraftKings lineup, man. Money's there to be made. I gotta convert you one day.
Yes, sir.
Bets for me are pretty simple. Not much. It can be a smaller card for me. Next week, though, I'm hitting it hard. You have, I have my plus money play on Aaron Blanchfield. You was probably with a bet, so sorry for that. But I do have plus money going in on her. I got a unit on Montel Jackson to finish the fight, parlay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Love that spot. I have Raquel Pennington locked in during the video. Raquel Pennington plus 140 to win a decision. Not played yet, but I will probably be playing some Mandy Bone if it gets up to my level. And most of my value this week or most of my bets are going to be seen in my DraftKings lineups. If you want to know what I'm playing, check out a video I posted on this channel just a day ago. Make sure to leave a like on that one as well. I'm liking my Carlson Harris's. I'm liking my Mike Rodriguez's down low. And then you got my Montel Jackson's up high. You cannot go wrong with our Sukian. And and then next week we got my 5-unit play. So we got a nice little slow week. I hope everyone enjoys the fights. We got a massive slate of NFL too. If you guys want to check out my NFL content as well. And I appreciate you so much coming on the show, Liam. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like you said, us getting to the bookies, and we're here to make some money, man. It's go time. Absolute great slate of cards fights tomorrow, and I'm ready to go. I appreciate you for having me on. I appreciate you for coming on, and I look forward to you coming on in the future as well. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. Thanks you guys for tuning in. Have a good one.
Absolutely.